All right. Getting, I'm not going to say that I'm good at this, but we've been going to the gym on 4 days a week, including Tuesdays. And so getting over here after the gym, because we go in at 7, we get done at 8, and then I need to be back like home, shower, get to the studio, get set up and get live, all within an hour. And the gym is a solid like 15 to 20-minute drive from the house. Um, so it's cutting it close. I probably need to reschedule this and like push it back a half hour or something. But I don't know. Today I'm only 3 minutes late, so I'm gonna call that a win. What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. It is July. We're in the second half of the year. It's kind of melting my brain that we are that far along already. It feels like we just got started. Um, I did bench press today. Thank you very much. And it was a lot more than 95 pounds. I cannot believe it's a robot just trying to get me to raise to the occasion. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. If you're just tuning into that joke, somebody tagged Grok and said, rank my followers by how much they bench press, and it ranked me number 10 and said that I benched 95 pounds. And that is libel. That is libel. What's up, PYP developer? What's up, Bryce? So yeah, let me post a note to everybody, let them know that I'm live here, and then we will do the thing. So I don't have much of a plan today. So there's two ways I can go. Where's my actual link here? I need an actual link. Let's see. Here is the stream. Let's get that link. Go back out here. And post that here. Post that in Discord. All right. Okay. We're in business now. So what's everybody up to? What are you doing? Robots, man. I know. So let's start with the exciting news. So we got some cool things going on over here at Code TV. First and foremost, we have, let me get to the right screen to share. I'm going to share this one. Get into the less annoying view. There we go. And then let's update the banner. So new Code TV website. We'll pop that up and let's take a look at this. So I'm super happy with this. This has been a project I've been working on forever. I've been like, it's one of those ones that I've been working on for a really long time. In fact, we started, let me see when we pulled this branch. We pulled the, it doesn't even give you history when you like, well, that's too bad. I thought it was going to give me the ability to at least see where things started changing. So let's see, back on May. Where did I pull? Layout tweaks. Maybe I can see this locally. Let's see. So check out. Let's see how good I am at. I need to get into the right repo. That'll help. And then let's, oops, get checkout. That's the one. And then get log one line, but this doesn't help me with. Move V2 out of the monorepo. Okay, so this actually predates when we did this because where's my escape key? Oh boy. Shoot. Forgot what I mapped that to on here. I know it by, you know, when you do a thing. No, that's not it. Now I got to figure out what my escape key is. Good. This is going great for me. Moonlander, keyboard map, configurator. That's the one. And then I need to find my own, which I should be able to do. This is good TV. We're all enjoying ourselves here. Valid email address. Okay, it must be this one then. Oh, I signed in with my Google. Okay, my layouts. And I did, in fact, wait, no, this is the wrong one. We need to get to the Moonlander. That is escape. What the hell? Oh, it was in like a Vim interface. I had to hit Q. Huh. Well, I forgot how that one worked. Okay. So anyways, this somewhere in here, how do I find a given commit? I go to GitHub and I search for a commit and we see what happens. Commits. October 4th, 2024. So I started working on the update to this site before October of 2024. So that's almost a year. And I would guess if we factor in the work that I did on the old mono repo, that probably puts us at about a year of work. And you know, this is the kind of work that has happened in the cracks. It's when I've got a down weekend, if I finished everything else that I'm supposed to do, if I'm trying to procrastinate against doing something that I don't want to do. And so this, you know, it's not like I've been working steadily on this. It's more of I've been working intermittently in the downtime that I have to try to build this new version of the site. And so this has been a big effort over a long period of time. And you know, it started out, I was trying to figure out how could I make this, you know, work a little bit better? Because the problem that I've had is, let's see, where's the new Code TV site? Here. So it started out, I mean, like way back in the day, the way that we did this was I was trying to figure out I think I got rid of all of I think I did. Yeah. I like took full page screenshots of all of the major streamers like Hulu and Crunchyroll and Netflix and Disney Plus and Paramount Plus and all those websites just to get a sense of like, what is the common denominator on how these sites work. And so you can see I originally designed this as a dark mode site. And then somewhere along the way during the design, I just didn't do that. And I made it light mode. And I can't remember why. And I want to have a toggle so that it has a light mode and a dark mode. I haven't gotten around to that just yet, but that is in the plan. But so, you know, this was kind of the V1 of the site, and it had a lot of the things that I wanted. It had, you know, these episode cards. We had the dates, the season number, a toggle so that you could get between everything. But I was missing some pieces that I thought were really important. And some of the stuff that I was missing was like the sign in, like create account flow was pretty rough. If you clicked this support button, it would take you to a page. That page would then give you like the instructions, not actually let you do it. So you had to log in, and then after you logged in, you had to go to this particular page that would then let you choose from a set of options. And then once you chose from a set of options, then you would be a supporter, and then you had to go find any content that was exclusive to you. And now, granted, I still haven't gotten this to where I want it to be, but it's much better now. So the V1 refresh, this started a while back, and it actually started. I did a version of this design that was the partner site for Code TV. So this was kind of the first crack at it, where I took the site and I put together a sizzle reel, and it kind of pushes, here's who we've worked with, here's some testimonials, here's instructions on how to set things up, some details about our series. We can do, news stuff. Here's things that we do that aren't TV. Here's stuff that we want to do, but we haven't been able to find the right partner for it. And then so this was the sort of original crack at this design. And I wanted to take that to the full Code TV experience, which I now feel I have. And so there's some inconsistencies here. I probably need to extract some of this out into a bit of a design system so that things like headlines and some of these common elements match up, because you can sort of see like there's a little bit of, these aren't quite the same. Like I'm using a different weight of the font, and the sizing is off, and there's some stuff I should fix. So some work that needs to be done there, but feeling overall pretty dang happy about this. And, you can see here that like we've got what's new. This is, I think this is different from how it was before. I believe before it just showed the series. It didn't show you what was new. So now you can see what are the latest things we've published. You can see what are our original series. I need to add a link to see all, because we also have the stuff that's not like stuff that we haven't been working on recently. Like this show, which this show's going to come back. I need to figure out what form it's coming back in, because the problem I have with this one is that it is, in my opinion, this is one of the better shows that we make, because it's got these really good insights from these really bright people who've had great careers. And it's probably the most like actionable on an individual level, but nobody clicks these to watch them. And so I can't figure out if that's because the packaging is wrong. I can't figure out if that's because we haven't given, like, if we're not giving people the right titles, if it's not being, I don't know, if it's not reaching the right audience. I have no idea. Something's not working. I want to fix it. I have 2 more of these recorded that I want to drop. I've got one with a woman who works at AppWrite, who is a former professional soccer player who pivoted into product management. Such a cool story. So many good lessons there. I've got one with an OSS maintainer who does it full time. Like that's the full job. Cannot wait to drop that one. But I don't want to drop it like this because I want everybody to watch it, right? So need some work there. I want to figure out how that all comes together. This one was more of an experiment to get me out of a rut of not making stuff. So I made a video every day for 2 weeks, barring weekends. And this was kind of how we came out. I need to go fix this because these used to have images and now they don't. So looks like I found, it's not a bug. My fallbacks are in a different order. So this is a generated card. Like this is what happens if you don't upload an image. But there's also a fallback to get the thumbnail from YouTube, which apparently is not taking precedence over the generation. So that's something to fix. The blog got an update. I'm really happy about this. We've got the most recent post, and then if you click into the posts themselves, we've got our table of contents, and you can kind of see what's going on here. You can jump around to the different places. This makes me really happy. I'm just happy to see that it works better. The newsletter is a little bit nicer. It's not it was kind of messy before. I don't know. I really like these big headers, but now that I'm looking at these, and kind of pushes all the content down. So I might want to go with a shorter header and see about making that a little bit better. Maybe it's like 3 images across so that it's kind of a collage banner instead of one big one that pushes everything down. And that's really it for the homepage. We've got the basic stuff here. You can search for whatever you want. So, you search for like a sponsor, and Oh, and wait a minute. Why isn't that working? Let's go. Whoa. Okay. This isn't scraping right. Let's see if it's picking up any of the web dev challenge. I think it stops. Okay, so I need to go figure out why that happened. That might be as easy as just clicking the button to tell it to go again. And then around here, we've got this. I really like this is like some little CSS grid magic that I love. Where what we ended up doing was so each of these is somebody who is a supporter of Code TV. And so, this is one of my favorite things to look at. It just reminds me that there are people who believe in what we're doing and want to see us do more of it. So thank you to everybody who is already a supporter. It really does. It means so much to me. And then we've also got this sort of like CSS grid thing going where we're doing not quite masonry, but it's a dense, it's called like a dense pack or let's look. It is, let's bring it to the side here. It is row dense is the style. And what that does is it takes all of these, despite them being different sizes. So like if you're a gold supporter, the image goes twice as large. Silver supporters are like the 1x1, and these are the 2x2s. And because we're using row dense, CSS grid packs them all together and doesn't leave empty spaces, no matter what the order is. And so what I love about this is that you can kind of see as we take this wider, you can see that it reflows and you never end up with like empty spaces. So it always finds a way to fit everything in. So that is I think, very nice little CSS trick. And then let's see. So then in here, we've got our supporters page. So now when you go to sign in, actually, let me start by being logged out. So when you're logged out, it says become a supporter up here. So you click there. I should probably find a way to change that to say like sign in if you've already signed in. Probably set a cookie for that or something. But then once you're here in your account, you get this sort of like, hey, be part of Code TV. And it says what you get, what the benefits are. So you sign up. That gives you the ability. You can either use all of these accounts or you can create a new one. But let's say you just log in with one of these. So then once you're logged in, and this takes a second. Here we go. So now it shows me like I'm a silver tier supporter and I've got all these things. I can go look at what my perks are. And so it shows that I've unlocked the Discord access because I have connected my Discord account here. And what that means from the Discord side is if we look over here, I have, oops, let me just look at here we go. So we can see over here that it added like my silver tier supporter badge and my Code TV supporter role. So those are the ones that get automatically added when you connect your Discord account to the Code TV site. And we're considering, because we've started seeing a lot more spam, we're considering making the Discord like require this step because it'll stop spam, right? And I realize that it's like extra work for people to have to do that, but it might just be time to make it a little bit harder to join. I don't know. We'll see. You've got ideas about that, like maybe drop them in the thing, because in the Discord or in the chat, and we can talk about it. But yeah, let's see. First time here. What's up, Tech Geek? Thank you for the kind words. Should be able to queue out of that. That was exactly what I needed. Should have read the chat. Had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, with these series, they were like these two were so much fun to make. I want to make more of them, and hopefully we'll find some good excuses. Are newsletters coming back? Did they ever really leave? I think that newsletters never really left, but everybody was trying to find a way to hook newsletters into social media in different ways. So things like, you could have your paid subscribers on Twitter or on, you would set up what was there were other ones that had done it too. I feel like Instagram never had like a paid thing. But there were ways that you could kind of like write articles that were subscriber only that worked on social media, and that's fine. But the problem is, and always has been, and probably always will be, that if you are trusting a company whose incentive isn't to show your content to as many of the people who have asked to see your content as possible, you're at odds with them in ways that aren't going to work out. Like the goal of Twitter is to keep somebody on the Twitter website as long as possible. So somebody whose goal is instead to check up on the things they've subscribed to and then move on with their day, Twitter is actively incentivized to trick that person into looking at more stuff. And so they look at not which content people ask to see, but which content is most likely to make them keep scrolling. This is what happens on Reddit. This is what happens on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. They're all algorithmically driven to give maximum engagement. That's what they want. And as a creator, if you are one of the people who's making something that the algorithm considers engaging, that's really good. If you are not, it's really bad. So if I'm doing something like writing a newsletter about public policy, probably Twitter's not going to show that to anybody because they have no reason to. There's no incentive. It's not going to provide, people aren't going to be outraged. They're not going to be, quote tweeting it. They're not going to be, yelling at each other. It's just going to be a note about like how zoning just changed in the Portland metro area, right? And that's something that for somebody like my wife, she wants that content. And in order for her to get that, she needs to be on a newsletter so that she knows when they send something, it goes to her inbox. And she can then choose whether or not she reads it, but it's not the algorithm deciding whether or not to even show it to her, right? And the same for me with like I have a couple newsletters that I get, and I get them because they tend to have a good overview of what's going on, and it helps me sort of like dig in on whether or not I want to go deeper on something, or whether or not something's getting enough buzz that maybe I want to invite the creator on to learn with Jason, or if I want to start exploring like maybe I can use this for my own projects. Who knows? But without the newsletter, you kind of have to rely on the hype. And the unfortunate thing about algorithmic engagement is that it tends to be the incentives skew outrageous, and outrageous can mean several things. Like the easiest one is just straight up rage baiting. Like if I go on and I say something super irritating on Twitter, then people are going to argue with me, which means that there's going to be a lot of replies, there's going to be a lot of quotes, there's going to be a lot of retweets, people are going to be yelling at each other in the comments. And to Twitter, that is a gold mine because people are staying on, they're talking, they're starting new conversations, people are having big arguments. That's why when you have these main character moments on Twitter, it's the only thing anybody sees, and everybody's kind of following the same thing because that's the stuff that's getting the engagement, right? I think there are other things, like that's why we always see videos of like how stuff gets made. I've noticed LinkedIn recently has done this very strange pivot to video, and a lot of the videos that get shared, I don't even know what these people are posting about, but they'll post like time-lapse makeup tutorials or time-lapse manufacturing videos, or how somebody like 3D prints a house or whatever it is, and like it's not related to what they're posting. They just know that people will watch those videos, which will cause LinkedIn to share them to more people, so they're engagement farming, right? Instagram's the same way. Like Instagram is chock full of accounts that just share these videos of like how things get made because it's interesting. You want to see like, how does somebody make a bunch of ceramic pots? How does somebody lay tile? How does somebody build a piece of woodworking that has no screws or fasteners in it? Those are really interesting things to see. And when you see it from the creator, it's great. When you see it from a weird engagement farmer who's trying to get you to like put their account into your feed so that they can eventually serve you ads, I feel less good about that. I don't know. The whole thing seems a little bit broken. Whereas newsletters feel like a way to say, I would like to see content from this person. Therefore, I'm going to give them my email, and when they have something to say, they will put it in my email inbox, and I will choose whether or not to engage with that content on my own, not at the whim of an algorithm. So a very long answer to that, but I do think that newsletters are coming back. Let's see. Spam is great in Masubi. Hell yeah, it is. Am I trying to block Vinny in Discord? I am. Get out of here, Vinny. Let's see. Pastor was email fatigue. People on social, they wanted updates on those networks. Yeah, I mean, I think the catch was that, like, when I was using Twitter back in the day, you would see posts from people that you followed. Like, before the algorithmic timeline, it was like the classic timeline. It was chronological. And then it was like chronological with a peppering of what else was happening around the site, which I actually liked. I thought it was good to see things from people I wasn't following. The issue was that then they doubled down on that, like what other people are talking about, and they just stopped showing you things from people that you follow. And you can see this with, like, I remember when Kent C. Dodds was launching Epic React. He posted about it constantly. Like, I don't know if you were following Kent C. Dodds at this point in time, but when he was posting Epic React, he was probably putting up 5 to 10 things a day about Epic React. And it was, here's something that we're working on. Here's a lesson I'm excited about. Here's how you get the discount. Here's something that's coming up. Here's somebody I worked with. Just all sorts of information, just nonstop posts about Epic React. And later on, somebody yelled at him and they were like, Kent, you got to chill, dude. You're posting way too much. So he put up a poll and he said, have you ever seen me talk about Epic React on Twitter? And there was a solid, like, 25 to 30% of people who had never seen one of his posts, right? That is wild. And I've noticed the same thing. Like, on Twitter, I have, I don't know, 50, 60,000, I don't know, somewhere in there, like in the tens of thousands of followers. And when I post something, on average, it'll maybe get 4,000 views, 5,000 views, something like that. And, like, Twitter doesn't even count views right. They count anytime it's on screen. So if somebody even, like, whips past it, it still counts. So for me to be hitting maybe 10% of my audience with a given post is not, like, that's just not good. From why would any creator tolerate, like, putting all this work in to make an account that people want to follow, to then find out that at best they're going to hit 10% of their followers unless they do something that is extremely engagement driven, which is why I think a lot of the biggest accounts on Twitter right now are basically just doing things that they know people are going to fight about, because they know that if they want to reach all their followers, they gotta do the things that people are going to talk about. So they do things that are controversial. They say things that are, ambiguous, so that people don't know what they mean, and then they want to discuss it and argue. They say things that are a little inflammatory. They'll start arguments, any of those things, because that leads to Twitter saying, like, oh, this is a hot post, better show this to more people. And that's true across all the, like, I'm picking on Twitter because I think Twitter is probably the worst at it, but it's true across everything. Like, I don't even use Facebook anymore because this is what they do. And Instagram isn't a whole lot better. I would say Instagram is much better in the sense that they at least show me stuff that's in the vein of what I like to look at. So my Instagram feed is almost exclusively, like, camera stuff, film stuff, and for some reason, like, a deep hole of DIY. I don't do any DIY, but I really like watching people build shit. And they at least do that. Like, they don't show me a whole lot of stuff that's not related to that, where I feel like Twitter is, like, I will be on Twitter and I only engage with content that's about, like, the tech community, about what we're building, about, stuff like that. And then they're showing me so much, like, they're always throwing political stuff in because they know that that's going to get your blood up. They're always throwing in, like, these weird things where people are, like, yelling at other couples for existing. They're, like, all sorts of stuff like that that I have never engaged with, and they just keep throwing it. And I'm like, God, why am I seeing this? And you say, show me less like this, and they keep showing them to you. They know that you don't want to see it. They throw it at you because you don't want to see it. They want you to be mad, and then you, like, hate read the comments, and it's designed that way. That's their whole goal, because you're there longer. You get There's some interesting research that I saw. I don't know where I'm going to be able to find this, so I'm not even going to. You know what? Let's just say I read this on the internet, and maybe it's got research backing it, so that I don't make claims that I can't like fully back up. But the response that you get from being angry has a similarly addictive effect to the response that you get from feeling good, like that dopamine rush. So you can get addicted to outrage, and when you get on these sites and you're just like mad all the time and you're scrolling and you're yelling and you're arguing with people on the internet, like that almost feels, it feels terrible, but from your brain standpoint, like it's the same type of stimulation as when you post something and everybody tells you how great you are, and this like dopamine rush of being involved, of being connected, right? And so it's sort of like the bizarro world, the Wario version of good engagement is bad engagement, and from your brain standpoint, it just kind of wants stimulation. And so if you can't get it in the good way, you'll get it in the bad way. And Twitter understands that it's way easier to get it in the bad way. So they just amplify the hell out of that so that you kind of just want to keep coming back, because that's where you get your rush, your daily fix of being mad at people, or from a deeper level, like engaging with people in any sort of way that isn't completely passive, which isn't great. Yeah. And yeah, again, like from a newsletter standpoint, like you just get more signal. Like if people say they want your content and you send out a newsletter and you get deliverability stats, like, okay, you sent out 1,000 newsletters, 968 of them delivered, the rest of them bounced, and you say, okay, those emails don't work anymore, or somebody was putting in junk, whatever it is. And of those, let's use easy math, 1,000 that were sent, 1% of people opened that email. Well, man, that was probably not a good headline or a good subject line or whatever, because clearly nobody really cared about that. But you do it differently and you'll get a 50% open rate. And it's like, hey, that's not bad. And honestly, like 50% is as much as you can hope for in most newsletters. I've seen people get like 2/3 of their messages opened, but they have like a couple hundred followers, which is also fine. Like, you get higher open rates the smaller your list is, because like the more intimate the community is, the more likely it is that it's like your friends and family. And so of course they're more engaged, like they're interested in what you're doing. And as you get broader, you get people who are just sort of casually aware of what you're doing. Like somebody who's like, oh yeah, I've seen you a couple times, I'm going to get on your newsletter. And then they're like, yeah, I don't really care about your newsletter. And that's fine. But if you can get to where about half people are opening your newsletter, that's a far cry more than the number of people who are going to see it on Twitter. And you control that, right? And you get some signal back. Like it's not like Twitter where it's a slot machine poll where you post something and maybe it's going to hit the algorithm, because the same post by two accounts, one of them goes viral and one of them doesn't. And it's not always the one that posts first. Sometimes it's the one that posts at the right time. That's why we have such a huge issue of stolen content on social media too, where people will just take somebody else's post and repost it because you put it in the slot machine. And sometimes you hit the jackpot and it goes viral, and then everybody pays attention to you. And then you find out in the comments that this is stolen and everybody's posting the reference to the original, and it doesn't matter. None of it matters. It's all very, very silly. Whereas with your newsletter, it's less of a slot machine. Like you have sent something to people who said they wanted it. And if they don't like what you sent, well, that's signal that maybe what you're telling people you're going to send and what you're actually sending aren't aligned. Like their expectations don't match what you thought you were offering them. All of that is information that you can use to like refine your message. You can't use like, oh yeah, well, I posted this on Twitter and it went viral. Like you can't repeat that, right? Like, but if you write a newsletter that's like 3 things I learned that made me happy, and you get an outsized, like a higher bump of people who open it, maybe you can try that again later and say 3 things that made me feel good, 3 things that made me stronger, 3 things that made me healthier, and see if you get a similar, hey, now you got a format, right? That's a thing you can do in your newsletter. There's people like Cassidy Williams has been sending out a newsletter for years. Same format, every newsletter. And it keeps growing. People enjoy it. Because it's a format, it's a little easier for her to put together every week. And she's been extremely consistent with it, and to the point where now she's got sponsors and all those good things. And like Salma Alam-Naylor has one that she calls Weird Wide Web Hole, which is the most uncomfortably named newsletter I've been a part of. And the same thing, it's got a format. It's 4 things every time, and it's just a way for her to share interesting stuff that she's thinking about and seeing around the web, and it's a format that is simple enough that it's possible to be consistent, right? I send out a newsletter for Code TV not as consistently, and that is on me. But, I also just realized that, like, the lights are way too hot, so give me just a second here while I tweak my scene. Um, but it all feels very let's see, get this corrected here. Hmm, I think maybe just the shirt is not the right choice today because it's making my face too dark. What are we doing here? Can you even see what I'm changing? I'm, like, messing with the background lights a little bit, you can kinda see. Um, what I'm after is I'm overexposed here, and so I'm trying to fix that, but I don't think that's gonna work without losing yeah, it's just not gonna work today. We're gonna turn that back on, leave that where it was, and I'm just not gonna wear, these light shirts anymore and just be okay with being blown out. Anyways, let's see, does this help? Ooh, that helps a lot, actually. Okay, so we're just gonna leave that lamp off because I missed the warmth. That's fine. We're gonna leave it off. Anyways, what the hell was I talking about? Newsletters. Newsletters are cool. I like newsletters. Let's see. Publisher's perspective newsletters are confirmed audiences 100%. Um, yeah, hospitality industry sends new offers and discounts via newsletter. I agree. This is the way to do it. Um, you watched my Ember stream from a few months ago. Weirdly drawn to it. My vibe with Ember is that Ember is very cool. It's been around for a long time for a reason. It's evolved a lot. It's improved steadily throughout its lifespan, and all those things are good things. So I think it's like it's by no means something that you would only use if you inherited it. I think it's a choice that you could make today that is a very valid choice. It's just if it makes sense to your brain and it's a good fit for the trade offs of your project, then yeah, yeehaw, let it rock. I think that's sort of the trick. Um, do I have an example of a platform with what I would call good engagement? Not anymore. I mean, I think older older sites were very good at this because they would like if you had followers, they would mostly show your content to people who said, I would like to see this content. Like YouTube was like this. If you subscribed on YouTube, you would see content from channels you subscribe to first, and they would also pepper in some alternatives. These days, a subscriber doesn't matter at all. Like if I look at my content on YouTube, like some amount of people will see it, but they're not seeing it because they're subscribers. They're seeing it because they've engaged with it before. And that's the huge difference is that now you can't say I want to see this by like clicking the subscribe button. You have to say I want to see this by hitting the like button, by hitting subscribe, by leaving a comment, by copying the share link, by like Instagram. I think the biggest signal that anybody's been able to figure out is sharing. If you say you want to share this or send it to somebody, Instagram takes that as a huge signal that it's a really engaging post because it's drawing, you send it to somebody in the text messages and that person opens up Instagram. Wow, Instagram is so happy. They just got a new user today, or somebody who wasn't maybe going to use it has now opened the app and hopefully they stick around for a while. Right. So any one of those things is to me, it's bad incentives for the creators. For the platforms, they're all super happy about it. But the thing that sucks is that it means something that would be helpful. Like, here's an example. If you've been watching short form video, one of the things that drives me up a wall is that somebody will do like a here's how I set up this shot. Here's how I made this painting. Here's how I baked this thing. And the video ends before they show what the result was. And they do that on purpose because they want you to go into their profile and hunt around and try to find the video where they do the reveal. And it's always like part 2 reveal. It drives me absolutely bonkers because it's only done because it's engagement bait. If I go watch 2 videos from this creator, they're going to get a bump in the algorithm because I went and consumed more of their content. And so the incentive then is to make content suck to watch so that the viewers have to do more work to see the entire thing because that signals to the platform that I want more of this creator's content. But what it honestly means to me is like a lot of times now, if I see that, I'll just like, I mean, obviously this is me being punitive, but like if a creator does that, I just say, show me less like this because I don't want that kind of content. And I know it works because everybody does it, but I don't want to be that kind of creator. And I don't want to consume my content in a way where I get to watch half a video and then spend a few minutes scrolling through a timeline trying to figure out where the hell they posted the other half of that video. Right. That's not how I want to consume. And it's certainly not the signal I want to send to my social media platforms is like, hey, make the content worse because it means that I have to spend more time on your platform trying to find it. Right. That's garbage. And I don't want to deal with that. And I just am so sad that that's the way things are working. So to me right now, the only form of good engagement seems to be that sort of like direct engagement, newsletters, email exchanges, chat interfaces, things where it's you and a person that you have chosen to speak to exchanging content in a way that is entirely intentional, right? It's not, and like you still get algorithmic content in a group chat, for example. If I'm talking to 5 or 6 of my friends, they're going to throw funny things into the group chat and we still get algorithmic content like that. It's never going to go away. I just mean, I want that to be inverted. The goal is to spend time with people that you've chosen to spend time with, and occasionally you see things that aren't from that group, right? Like this is what friendships are. This is when we were kids and we would go hang out with our friends. This is what that was. You would go hang out with your friends, and every once in a while, one of your friends would be like, "Hey, this is my other friend from out of town. This is my cousin. This is whatever." Or you would say like, "Hey, did you see that movie?" And then you would all go watch a movie. Like you would still see content that was outside of your friend circle, but your friend circle was like the core of what you were engaging with. That used to be how social media worked, and now it's almost to the point where you have to fight to see your friends' content on social media, and that to me is a huge bummer. Blue Sky is better at this because they have a following tab. If you go to Blue Sky and you just uninstall the Discover timeline and uninstall the ones that are algorithmic, and instead choose to only see your following tab, that's closer because then your friends will like retweet algorithmic stuff in and they'll share things and screenshot stuff. And like it is what it is. But at least then it's mostly people that you've chosen to follow and you're not seeing as much non-consensual that I don't know, that makes it sound like really bad. But I think it's just junk. It's just cruft. Like, and it's not even that the people who are posting that hit the algorithm are junk or that their content is junk. It's just that I didn't ask for it, right? Like you can send me a good post at the wrong time and it just sort of isn't what I wanted, you know? And it's kind of like the idea of like, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch comedy or I'm going to sit down and watch a really heavy drama. The moment is important for that. Like you choose one because you feel a certain way. And if you get shown the other one instead, that's not great. It sort of violates your expectations and it could ruin your mood or like further ruin your mood if you were in a bad mood and wanted to watch a comedy to cheer you up and you end up watching like, I don't know, one of those super depressing movies where everybody dies at the end. Like that's not gonna lighten your mood. Um, I feel like we're sort of losing our ability to choose in a lot of these platforms that have decided that engagement is the end all be all. And that's not great. It makes me sad. And I hope that we find a way to fix that. Um, let's see. That'll teach me to wear a non-black shirt. Fair. Um, yeah, Tumblr I think was a good example. Um, Old bulletin board formats, I think that's good. Moderation is important. This is why, like, there are really good subreddits and really bad subreddits, and I think that that's because you have good or bad moderators. Um, YouTube is watch time, LinkedIn is meaningful comments, Twitter is profile visits and video engagement. All right, all right, all right. LinkedIn posts are story based, which makes people leave stories and comments. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Also, what's up, Ashim? I haven't seen you in a while. Hey, Aaron, how you doing? Um, exactly how I use Blue Sky. Yeah, I mean, I just had to uninstall the Discover tab. Like, I found that it was like my Blue Sky is already full of people who are very mad about what's going on in the world, and you know, a lot of my friends are really engaged, and like I'm engaged to a limited degree. Like I've also realized, I think that there is a certain there's like a threshold that you have to keep it under, because I think, am I going to get political right now? I think I am. So I feel like right now there is a concentrated effort to snuff out creativity and intellectualism, and sort of like stamp out the will to do things that aren't a way that's already been done. There seems to be a sort of like concerted effort to demonize difference. And that, to me, if we spend all of our time being mad about people trying to ruin things, we'd never do the thing that they don't want us to do, which is make things. And I feel like they always say the best revenge is living well. I think in this particular timeline, the best way to get through it is to prove to them that we haven't lost hope, and to make things and to share things and to be excited about things, and to show that like no amount of hatred is going to snuff out the joy of being a thinking, social, excited person. I just think I think that's the way we win. Um, so I am trying to limit the amount of like bad news that I consume, because I think that the more of that I see, the more I just start to get this sense of like, well, what's the point? Like, why do we even bother if this is how everything is going to be? And to me, that I actually think that's a stated goal, is they just want to overwhelm us to the point that we give up. And that I'm not going out like that. Right? That's what I got. I'm not going out like that. And so I'm trying to stay as as positive and as excited and as hopeful as I can, as my own little private form of resistance to this sort of rejection of creation, and rejection of, like, I don't know, there's something sad about this like dead sprint to devalue everything that, to say like, well, anybody can be an artist, just say what you want. And then you kind of watch people, not like, it's fine if you want to do that, but then to get mad when an artist says like, yes, but if you want something that's like good and has a soul, work with an artist who is practiced and knows how to put soul into their work. And then everybody's like, oh, well, you're not I mean, I'm a real artist. And it's like, well, no, you're not. Like, if I go to the freezer section and I get a pizza and I put it in my oven, I have made a pizza, but I'm not going to claim that I'm like a pizzolio who's, I can go work in a Neapolitan restaurant and make pizzas. That's not how that works. Like, we can make things accessible, but they necessarily lose quality by becoming accessible. When you bring things down to the lowest common denominator, all of the nuance disappears, because that's how accessibility works. You have to make it work for everyone. And that means that you eliminate all of the really difficult parts about it, right? If not everybody can operate a spray can, or a paintbrush or a digital painting program, then by removing that, you have made painting more accessible, but you have eliminated some of the nuance and skill that goes into painting, right? And everything that happens when you say, "Hey, generate me a photo of graffiti," it's pretty soulless now because you didn't think about why you made those choices. You just said, I want a cool graffiti of a butterfly, and now you got one, and it looks like some other artist graffiti of a butterfly, but you don't know that because you aren't aware that that artist exists. It's just trained on that artist's work, and you didn't put any effort into it. You didn't it didn't cost you anything, and I think that is maybe the thing that's important is that we're somehow. I'm kind of off on a tangent here, so I might just trail off into nothing. I I don't know. I want to exist in a world where people care about things and where people do hard things not because it's the only way to do it, but because it's the way that feels right for them. Um, and I want people to be able to make a living doing things that they're excited about and that they care a lot about. And I want it to be cool to care. I want it to be cool to try. I want it to be cool to make it like a lifelong struggle to become extremely good at things. Um, but yeah, I think that's sort of the whole thing. Um, Gourmet DiGiorno stuff. I mean, yeah, I get it. I get it. I do. But I think this is sort of the thing, right? It's like you can be good at the thing you're good at without pretending that it makes you good at things you're not good at, right? Like if I get an IKEA shelf and I put it together, that's great, but I'm not going to claim that I can build a house. I can build an IKEA shelf. I'm pretty fucking good at it. I know how to follow those instructions, right? But I'm not going to claim that like that somehow qualifies me to do other things that are much more complex or that require a lot more skill, and it certainly doesn't make me respect somebody who builds houses any less. And I think that's the part that I don't like is that it seems like there's this sort of sneering tone with a lot of this where it's like, "Pfft, see, these artists ain't shit. We can make any art we want." And to me that is very to me that's indicative of I've talked about this before, but it's this sort of idea where like power is used as a poor substitute for love. And I think this is a permutation of that where when you see somebody like if you're a kid and you look around and the athletes are popular and they get invited to parties and they're the ones who have dates and like all the things that you feel like you wanted, but you've risked nothing and you've spent your life just being mad at the athletes, and then you find out that if you I don't know, buy this robot, the robot can throw a football further than the best quarterback in the NFL. And then you go out and you say, "See, I'm a better athlete than all of y'all. Uh, where are my rewards?" Right? And then being mad when nobody gives them to you, and the response then becomes, "Well, we should make it harder for athletes to be athletes. Like, let's remove sports and make all the sports run by robots so that I can win." Um, and again, it's this sort of the sneering undertone is, "I couldn't do this thing, so I've built tech that does this thing, and now the thing that I couldn't do doesn't matter anymore, and you all suck, and I am the winner." And that's the sort of sneering undertone that I get from a lot of these discussions, is it's almost like a, "Ha ha, this thing you worked so hard to learn doesn't matter anymore." And to me, that is like the core of the anti-intellectualism of all this, where instead of admitting that you can't do something, it like becomes this lifelong effort to devalue it so that you don't have to be good at it, right? It's if I can't have it, no one will sort of mindset where instead of, well, I can't build a cathedral, so I'll smash all the cathedrals so that nobody can see them, right? Um, I feel like that's sort of the attitude of a lot of these people, and somebody like Mark Zuckerberg, the thing that I keep seeing is this sort of there's this like thing that I see, this spark of like, please God, maybe this will be the thing that makes people like me. And I think the saddest part about it is I think that Mark Zuckerberg has the capability to be a very likable and well-loved person, but the vulnerability that it would require to admit that he doesn't have all the answers, that maybe he's made some mistakes, that maybe trying to replace all of human friends with robot friends is not a great idea, that maybe people could be better at things than he is, maybe like all these things that require you to be a human. Like we're squishy, imperfect, incomplete beings that take a lifetime to become good at things. Um, and it's like this, instead of being willing to admit that we're squishy and uncertain and incomplete, it's like, well, no, I'm perfect, and you'll all understand once I've crushed all of your dreams. And it's like, okay, I couldn't get people to love me willingly, so I will make them love me through force. That's power being a poor substitute for love. And I feel like a lot of this AI stuff is sort of the same thing. Like I couldn't be cool by being a musician, so I crushed all of the musicians so that tech people are the only people who are cool. I couldn't figure out how to be an artist. I couldn't figure out how to be a writer, so I crushed all those professions so that I'm the only one who can be cool. And it's done again with this sort of like gleeful, sneering, like, I don't know, like the joy of a kid who's like kicking over an anthill. It doesn't feel good. It feels like somebody saying like, well, if you like that, I'm gonna ruin it so that the only thing left to like is me, with this misguided belief that if they remove all of the options, the only thing left to do is love them, as opposed to what I think is more likely gonna happen, which is when people run out of things to love, they're just gonna start looking for things to smash, and there won't be much left. Uh, and we've seen this happen before. Like revolutions are usually driven by people getting all the things they love stripped away until the whole community hits a breaking point. Um, hope that's not what happens. I hope that all these billionaires realize that if they want to be loved and popular, all they need to do is like fund public spaces, build some high speed trains, build some libraries, create places that people can go that don't cost money. Like it would be not even 5% of their wealth, and they could completely revolutionize this entire country. Like, we think about the Carnegies because they built places like Carnegie Hall. We think about, we remember these billionaires, Henry Ford, because they built shit. They built universities, they built public spaces, libraries, all these things that made it possible for people to completely forget that they were probably terrible people in their lifetimes. When we get into the biopics of any of the billionaires or the super millionaires in the olden days, um, they weren't great people, but they did all these public works, and so everybody remembers them fondly. And like, if Jeff Bezos wants everybody to remember him fondly, just build free services for people, build places that people can go, leave some architecture behind that is like breathtaking, and everybody will forget. They like Reputation laundering is actually not that hard. This is a super depressing thing. There are so many people who do terrible things, but then they do good things to offset those terrible things, and we all just kind of forget. This is what happens with celebrities. These celebrities are freaking terrible people. But like, look at Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, I'm relatively certain, is an absolutely horrific human being. But then again, he does his own stunts, and look at all these cool movies. And oh, he smiles so much, and he's so friendly, and we just kind of forget about all the stuff that happened 10 years ago. And he's just well loved again, right? Like these billionaires could so easily be the most popular people on the planet. Everybody would love them willingly if they just weren't so goddamn selfish about it all, right? This belief that anything that they don't get is somehow bad, and that they need to crush all of these things that make it possible for people to live without them. That's not going to make people love you, bro. That's going to make them want to put you in a guillotine. Anyways. um okay. All right. Okay. Is Redux or Context API better state management? Here's the thing. It depends, and I unfortunately don't have a great answer for you. I would say that usually usually any sufficiently complex app is going to want an abstraction over the top of the context API. That's my hunch. Um, but you know who would know better is Jack Harrington, who just showed up in the chat. Um, he's probably got some videos on this that would be a better comparison than I can make. Yeah, that we all need to be billionaires and that money is the true path. Yes. Okay. That's the other thing, is that money is only valuable to the point that it makes you stop thinking about money. And I think that if you keep focused on money beyond that point, and what I mean by that is, when I was, I don't know, I was like 20, just my band had broken up. I was living in a place that was like maybe $600 a month. And I had a roommate because I couldn't afford $600 a month in rent. And I was working at a FedEx Kinko's. I was trying to get my freelance business going. And I remember every month paying the minimum on my credit card, which then gave me just barely any money that I could spend on the credit card until next month, when I would pay the minimum on the credit card again. And I basically lived on maxed out credit cards for years because I just didn't have money. Every grocery store run, I had a calculator, and I was like, okay, if I buy this, that means I can't get that. And, I need to do the math to figure out okay, I can spend like $35 at the grocery store. How am I going to get through this week? And you do the math to figure out how you can do it on $35. If you have a tire that's bald on your car, you get to decide, am I going to replace that tire or am I going to pay rent? And you just sort of do this math on which late fee is lower so that I know which thing not to pay because I don't have enough money. That's when money matters. Money matters a lot in that context. And as I started making more money, I noticed that a lot of stress started to fall away, because I knew when I went to the grocery store, I could just buy the food I wanted within reason. And I didn't have to use a calculator anymore. I knew that if I got to the grocery store and I accidentally spent $120 instead of $100, it wasn't the end of the world. I wasn't going to miss rent. And if I had to do repairs on my car, I was pissed, but I could afford it. It wasn't ruinous for me, right? And the choices that I had to make didn't feel like I was choosing between a bad thing and a bad thing. It felt like I was living my life, and I wanted to save money, but the money I was saving made it possible that when things went wrong or unexpected things happened, I wasn't paying with money I didn't have. I was paying with savings. And it really changed my whole experience of the world to not be in this just crushing debt and in these extremely tight circumstances where every decision I made was based on, do I pay for this or that? Because I can't pay for both, right? And I think they did some studies on this where it's after adjusted for inflation, I don't know, maybe 100,000, 110,000 in the US. You largely, and granted, it depends on where you live and geo matters, all that. But in the US, I think they figured on average it was around $110,000. If you can make that much money, then you get to the point where unless you make choices that make your finances hard, you are capable of living a life where you never really need to think about money outside of the occasional big purchase. And it just, after that point, money doesn't buy happiness anymore. Money buys you a lack of stress, which allows you the mental energy to work on your happiness. And if you think that, oh, well, going from 30 grand a year to 110 grand a year made me happy, I bet going to 200 grand a year will make me happier. I don't think it does. I think, my own journey, I worked in tech as an executive, and I did get up to the pretty high salaries. And when I was doing that, I didn't really feel that my life changed between $150,000 and $250,000 a year. It certain things got easier. Sure, yeah, the amount of money that I could impulse spend went up, but my bills were paid. My comfort level was pretty stable. I was able to do stuff that I wanted to do, and that all stayed pretty stable once I cleared this threshold of income. So instead, if you look at money as a tool, money is the thing that allows me to make choices that will make my life better. I don't care how much money I have. What I care about is the quality of life that I have. And that means that I'm not interested in dying on a pile of money. I'm not interested in making more money than I could ever possibly spend. I'm interested in making money so that I can do things like I have this long-term vision of building a sort of community center complex thing. Like I really want to build this whole building that's got multi-use office space and living space and retail space, and I want it to be kind of like an open courtyard thing. And this is what I want to build, and I know for me to do that is going to be many millions of dollars. Um, so I either need to figure out how commercial real estate works, or I need to do something that significantly changes the amount of income that I have, or whatever. But like that's why I'd want to make more money. It's not like, oh yeah, because then I'd have $1 million. And then what? And then what do you do with it? Like, who cares? Having $1 million is just like, okay, it's a stack of gold. Does it entertain you? Does it make you happy? Does it make anybody love you? Does it make you love yourself? Probably not, right? Like it's what you do with your resources that makes all of those things possible. And most of those things are possible to do without a lot of resources. You can love yourself, which in turn makes people around you more likely to love you for free, right? And it's definitely easier if you're not scrambling for bills every month, if you're not like crushed under debt, like for sure. And that's why money matters until you clear that threshold. You know, set your sights on goals that are more meaningful, I guess. Like after you get the stress out of your life, financial stress is a very worthy goal of getting rid of. And then once that's gone, the money is like a tool. Like if you're going to say, how am I going to get to here? And one of the steps is like, well, we need to buy things so that we can do this. Like, I need to buy a car so that I can take this cross-country road trip that I've always wanted to do. Sure, you need money for that, right? But you're not saying like, I need $35,000, because who cares? $35,000 isn't useful. What's useful is this van conversion that you're going to do that will cost $35,000. Now, like if I get this money, it unlocks this thing, this camper van that I can go drive across the country and live in and do this adventure that I've been thinking about since I saw it on Instagram in 2015. Whatever. Like if that's a thing that you want to do, then money is a tool that gets you there. It's not the reason to do things. And I feel like a lot of the folks in positions of power have just kind of forgotten that they're like, if you work 90 hours a week and you never see your family and you never do anything other than work, who cares what your compensation is? Who cares what your title is? You sound like a miserable person. And you can see that a lot of these folks really are miserable people. Like they're not happy. They're just mad at everybody else for stuff. They think nobody wants to work anymore. They think nobody wants to, like, nobody's capable of anything but me. Like only A players, blah, 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 blah. And all of that just seems to be built from this sort of like, I don't know. They no longer have a rich inner life or a rich external life, and the only thing that seems to matter to them is accumulation, and accumulation for its own sake, which is real sad mentality. Line goes up, right? Exactly. Pastor Jason. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, here we go. We'll just get around taxes. Okay, Dev Church. Here we go. Used to get up in the morning, 10:30 at night, half an hour before I went to bed, eat a lump of freak. Wait, what? Oh man, what a story. Yeah. Let's see. First 5 figures above 70K. Yeah, the money steady, exactly that, right? Like the money is the convenience and all that kind of stuff. Like the line goes up, like number go up, like you're just trying to push everything higher, not because it matters, but because if the chart doesn't continue to climb, obviously you're a failure, right? Like the I always joke that every company's got a spreadsheet guy, and what I worry about is that companies are starting to become almost exclusively operated by spreadsheet guys, where their hobby is messing around in the spreadsheet to adjust different like numbers to make the company look healthier. And then they build projections and say, okay, for us to hit this graph that I like, we all need to work like this. And in order to hit the operating expenses that I like, we need to lay off 10% of our people, and AI should solve this, right? Like they're just like playing with numbers in an Excel sheet until the graph looks the way they want it to look. And then they copy that graph into a board document and show it to the board and say, this is what our company's doing. And then they go back to the company and they say, you need to make this graph real. And then there's like punishment for the company when that graph isn't real. Like this is literally how I've seen companies hold layoffs, is that they made some projection and then they just missed that projection because it was completely imaginary. And then they get real sad when they miss that projection. But yeah, just a huge bummer. But anyways, what were we talking about? We were talking about my new website. So anyways, yeah, we've got a lot going on in here. And I'm just super happy to get this out, get this live. And I talked a little bit about the automations, but like check this out. Like this stuff makes me really happy. So I have how can I show this easily? Let me pull this off screen for a second, because I'm going to be showing people's email addresses when I pull this up. But I'm going to get into my clerk dashboard and I'm going to pull up my account. So let's get into Code TV. We'll get into production, and then I'll find myself, which is this account here. Okay, so let me show this screen here. And so here's how this kind of works inside of the, like under the hood. And what I mean by that is when we look at here, we've got my account here. This is using Clerk under the hood. And it's set up where like we're using, Clerk has this ability to do custom pages in their user profile component. So I'm taking advantage of that. So like this is the built-in Clerk thing. And then I built these ones as bonus pages, and the same with this here. And so all of this is being handled through a couple different places. So first and foremost, the subscription is managed through Stripe. So if you go to manage your subscription, it's going to take you through to a Stripe page, and it's going to show you the details there. I'm not going to leave that up because I don't think it shows anything particularly important, but I'm gonna leave it. I'm not going to bring it up. But so you've got your details here, and then you've got these are managed by actually checking things. So if you've connected a Discord account to your Clerk profile, which is done through connected accounts here, then this perk will fire off. And if you have a silver tier or higher account, then it shows you that you've got this perk here where you get early access to new episodes. And then if you go to the gold tier, you get extra discounts. We're going to launch a merch store and stuff, so there'll be discounts for gold tier supporters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then down here, the links in bio, this is actually being pulled from Sanity. So we're pulling details from Sanity because that way, when you go look at your profile, which I just realized I don't have, I should add a link so that you can actually see your profile. But the way that it works is you would go to Code TV profile, and oh, damn it. I have a duplicate account in here. I'll fix that later. But so this is my test account that I continually mess with and do weird stuff. But this is what it looks like on the homepage. And so we can see like Charles is in here. And so like we can see photo, we can see the support level, any links that have been put into that developer thing, the bio. The time to update this was, did you do this after we had that discussion, or was this like something that I inadvertently attacked you? But But then it also, if you've been on a show, it'll show which shows you've been on, right? So this is kind of what we wanted, is the ability to do that. This pulls out a sanity so that when we're doing the build, I'm not getting rate limited by clerk, because sanity is sort of built for this sort of thing. And so then back over here, we've got these details where it shows kind of what's connected. I can see all these details here, but then we also have this public metadata, which shows my current account. So then if and granted, this is not, I could probably make this, manually check Stripe every time, but I decided I don't care that much. So then if you're not a supporter, it shows you here instead how you can upgrade your account, and you can get any one of these particular things. So if I say, yeah, I'm going to join monthly, $5 a month. Oh, no. What does that mean? Well, that would explain why nobody's subscribed since I launched the site. Yeah. Okay, let's do some live debugging, everybody. Figure out why that just happened. So Stripe checkout 405 error. Method not allowed. Making an HTTP request using a method that the endpoint you're sending the request to does not allow. What? Okay. We're going to fix this. And we're going to fix this by going into here's the supporter tab. And we've got API, Stripe, checkout. It's a post. That should work. Am I missing details? Just blame clerk. I don't think this one could be this one couldn't be clerk. API, Stripe, checkout. We've got the price ID. We don't have the customer ID though, which seems, oh wait. We don't have the customer ID because I took that out. Let me see here if I put this back in, but I change it to canceled. Then it should price ID, customer ID. Okay. So what if I hit this then? So it works. It works if the customer ID is there, but not if it's not, which isn't good. So that means I need to go look at my API. Can't believe I didn't, this was the one thing I didn't check because I was pretty sure it was right. That's embarrassing. So I've got the customer. If customer, we set options customer. So why wouldn't that work? That should be just fine. So let me remove this again. Come back in here. We're going to refresh. Price ID. Okay, that's gone. Join. And then it worked. What on earth? Why didn't that work? Oh no. Let me just try this all the way from scratch. We're going to log out. We're going to log in. Get logged into the account. I'm going to join monthly. Why on earth did that not work one time? Makes me nervous. I don't like intermittent failure. Like either be broken or not broken. I don't want to. So then got our account. Jeez. Okay. Maybe it was a network hit. It could have been so many things. But then, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So check this out. So then once, this is my like bot thing. Oh, cool. Thank you, Will Spearing, for joining. And so then we've got like our feed of things happening, and you can see this is firing more than once. I need to add a check-in on that to make sure that it's doing what I want. But basically right now what happens is I can show you because I have the code. What happens right now is when you subscribe, it fires a webhook, right? And so in my server, I've set up ingest. And so what ingest is if you watch the web dev challenge with temporal, ingest and temporal are very similar. I learned about ingest before I learned about temporal, so that's why I'm using it here. This is what my friend Joel Hooks uses for Egghead. He's a huge fan. I think he worked there briefly. And it's great. I like it a lot. So I register this endpoint, right? And ingest uses this endpoint to poll for functions, which means that all of my functions live down here. And I've got this this kind of like ingest setup here. So I've defined somewhere in here all of my events that I can get. So there's like a clerk user updated, user created. We've got some Stripe stuff. And these are all internal things that I'm doing where I want to like go get details about the subscription, details about the product. I want to update somebody's subscription in clerk, update somebody on sanity. I want to invalidate the cache for Netlify so that it doesn't, like, they have this thing where you can do kind of cache tags where SSR rendered pages will stay cached until you invalidate it or until the build. So I was using that for a while. I'm actually not using it anymore, but I think I still invalidate the cache just because. I'm updating user roles on Discord. We have the ability to get when a Stripe session is completed or when a Stripe or a customer subscription is updated or deleted. And then also when somebody updates their Code TV user profile. Okay. So all of those things then call, they get registered as our events, and we create an ingest client. So out here, then we have these different things that we're doing. So for example, when the clerk user created event or the user updated event fires, we're going to run this series of things. So we extract out like the user ID, name, first name, etc. And then we're going to check to see if an existing user is there. And this step.run, basically everything that you put inside of a step.run is retryable. And it's smart about the way that it retries so that it doesn't execute the same code over and over again for a failed run. Like if this succeeds and this doesn't, it will not duplicate it, right? Like it'll use the output from this cached to then attempt this again. I'm realizing now that we're uploading the photo every time, which is probably not great for my Cloudinary bandwidth. I'll fix that. Then we do things like here, we're returning these, which means that these are promises. So to run these in parallel, we do a promise.all to run those. And now that we've got the user in the photo, we can create a new user in Sanity, or if we've got an existing user, we can update the existing user. Probably ought to update that clerk user so that we have like the Sanity ID and the clerk ID. Right now, it's just one way from Sanity. We also have the ability to do things like invalidating the cache tag. But so let's do when we get our, where's the Stripe stuff? Okay. So when we get an updated subscription, we are going to start by getting details about their subscription. Then we go get the customer and the product that are related to that. So we go into the Stripe SDK, use their tools to go get the given customer out of the subscription, as well as the product that's related to the subscription, because they only give us IDs for these in the subscription body. Then when we await the promise all, we get the customer product. If something goes wrong, we can throw a non-retriable error. This is an ingest thing, which means if it fails, it's supposed to fail. Like, don't keep retrying this. And then we get the sanity user. So we check to see if that person is there using their clerk ID as a lookup tool. We update the clerk user by setting the data. And so this is going to go, we can actually go look at this update user subscription. This one is we're invoking a step. And this is just a way to encapsulate stuff. So up here, we run a clerk thing. We set their public metadata, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then once we've got their metadata updated, we grab out the user from the sanity user, and then we update their sanity account using the same details, like their Stripe customer ID, their subscription status, et cetera. That's how we'd show on the profile pages what tier they're in. Then we purge the Netlify cache, which when we were dynamically rendering profiles, this was necessary. Now that we're not, it doesn't hurt anything, but it's not necessary. Then we update Discord by sending this message that says that somebody has updated their subscription. And then we just await all of those. If anything goes wrong, then we also send a note to Discord that says like, hey, ingest failed. And then I can go look at ingest. And this is what's really cool. If I go to cloud.ingest, nope, that's not app.ingest. And I go to my Code TV app, I can look at my runs, and I can see everything that's been happening in here. And let's see if I have. Like here, we've got a failed run, and so I can see sort of what's going on, and it says no Discord account. So this tried to update an account that didn't have a Discord user attached to it. And so actually, I don't want to look at that one because that's going to have somebody's details in it, and it might not be mine. So all of that is how we get through these pieces here. And then we just go say, hey, ingest, these are all the functions that you can run. So the same thing is happening with this Discord thing, but we're able to do when somebody creates their user or updates their user. Now, here's the cool thing. Notice I'm using the same set of events. You can register as many things as you want on any event, so they don't have to be like one big handler. You can register different handlers for different things so that if like this role update fails, it doesn't mess with the sanity updates. So it's kind of a nice way of like, I think they call this fan out, if I remember correctly, where different work gets triggered by the same event, but as far as the system is concerned, this handler and the other handler with the same event trigger are not aware of each other. They don't care that the other exists. They are going to do what they're told to do, regardless of what happens in the related handlers. And then we've got all of our user stuff here. We check to see what their current role ID is, or we check to see if there is in fact a role, or we put them on the free tier. And we get the role ID so that we know what to assign them on Discord. We get their Discord member ID by doing a check to the OAuth Discord, which is in return from Clerk. That's how we know whether or not they have an account. And you can see here this non-retriable error. If they do not have a Discord account hooked up, then we just say, nope, that wasn't it. So then down here, we add the role, and this is just a straight up call to the Discord API. And the step.fetch makes it into an ingest retriable thing, as opposed to like a single attempt. Step.run so that we can dump out the available roles. And this is just, we actually don't need this anymore. But when I was checking, I wanted to make sure that like the role ID that was being returned matched the role that I was expecting. So I was dumping all these out. And then in here, we get, we resolve all of these by checking I changed this? Hmm. I must have like rolled back a change here because I had this set up better. Anyways, so then we've got each of our fetches here. We check to see if they're not the silver tier, then we remove the silver tier. And again, this is where I need to fix things because I'm getting a lot of duplicates where I should check if the original account has roles and then only remove things if they have a role that they're not supposed to have instead of just firing it off every time. Because this could lead to me getting rate limited if the server gets really busy. But it right now, I don't think we have that much going on. And then same thing here, we just post that note that says, "Hey, this person now has the role." So this is really nice. Like this gives me a ton of flexibility to get in and do a bunch of this stuff. Let's see, there were questions. Let me go look at them. Let's go. Yeah, I will check Stripe once the stream is off. We'll deal with that. Ooh, I'd be curious to know what the problem was that you were trying to solve because I'm kind of in the same, but I'm using Temporal for other projects. And I'm using Ingest for this project, and I'm desperately trying not to have to learn how to spin up things like Kafka queues or RabbitMQ and all those sorts of things. Life's made up of moments of intermittent failure. Fair. Is this client side or server side? So this is server side. So I could probably do a better job of organizing all my code here, but the code is all being consumed through this, through this API route. So everything that we're pulling is coming out of these utils. And so I could probably organize these to like have like server utils and client utils and so on and so forth, but I didn't. So it is consumed. It runs where it gets consumed, and right now it only gets consumed on this API route. So these all happen on the server side, and that's why I'm doing things like sending off bot tokens in the code and stuff like that. Any thoughts on how folks can contribute with issues or PR? So I actually put this up on the site because I don't have a good answer for this. And the reason I don't have a good answer for this is that ooh, neat. I got to look at that. And then where am I? Here we go. So, oh, nice. Owen has an idea, but basically, in order to run the site right now, you need a bunch of environment variables, and I will show those briefly. Like you need clerk keys, you need Stripe keys, you need prices from Stripe that are related to the Stripe account specifically and which environment they're in. You need Mux stuff in order to run the Mux things, which is like any early access videos are hosted through Mux. Also, I'm looking into doing live streaming through Mux, handful of other things. Cloudinary stuff, ConvertKit stuff, which is the newsletter I use, Sanity for if you're going to update people's accounts, you need a secret token to be able to do that. The ingest stuff, the Discord bot token, the Netlify token, which we'll be able to get rid of this because we're not invalidating cache tags anymore, and Algolia. This one can probably be public, so I could potentially make like a .env.public or just a config. How'd that work? I guess I could just check in like a .env.public or something that that has those things. But I'm not going to be able to do that for like these, right? And I can't reasonably hand these out to maintainers even because the security on it would just be a nightmare. So in order to fully run Code TV, because of the way this site is built, you would need to create your own accounts at each of these things and then configure all of them with these things and then add dummy data, which I can provide some of that. But I don't know how to make this site runnable for people without these things. And so let's see. I think Owen had an idea. So if we don't have these, then it would kind of take the assets and return them as empty. Yeah, that would work. Hmm. Yeah, it's a good question because I feel like, oh, you mocked around all those calls. Hmm. I wonder if, yeah, maybe we could build in like a dev mode, like run it with all those calls mocked. And if you ran it mocked, then it would just give some dummy responses for each of those things. That would be pretty inflexible as things evolve in the future. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. That could be, yeah, mock service worker, Mirage. Yeah, they could. I don't know. This is where it starts to get tricky because like what I would inside the company, the thing that I would do would be to just get the test keys and like on Stripe now you can set up different environments and copy things across to it. So you would just like generate a different set of test keys for each person so that you could kind of cancel them as they go. Um, decouple into a backend for front end. I mean, yeah, but I mean, part of the joy of working in Astro like this is that I don't have to manage multiple repos, and like the guts of it are just here, right? And this is really nice. So I would lean toward not breaking the repo apart if I can help it. Um, let's see. Just join the stream. Quick rundown of what ingest is. Yeah, so high level ingest is a task runner, and you can see in my cloud how it. So I have an app set up, and that app accepts functions. You can see each of these is tied to a given trigger. So like when somebody creates or updates their account in Clerk, or when somebody finishes checking out in Stripe, then it will trigger these functions. And you can see the runs here when somebody does one of those things. Let me do one that I can be sure is me. Um, so I'm just going to add a space and update my profile. And then when I come back here and I refresh my runs, so it's running a new thing here. And so you can see that it has like sent a call to Netlify, which is timed out. That's not great. And we have our call to create the sanity user. And if we look here, you can see kind of what was returned. And you can see that the bio is updated, the links are updated. We've got a photo in there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all of that is what's being returned. Oh, wait. There's the Netlify cache being invalidated properly, and it doesn't return anything, so you don't get any output. But so each of these then is kind of like the thing that's happening, right? And then finalization is just like it finished running. So you can see these happening all the way across. If I go in and let's remove and re-add Discord. Okay, so that disconnects it. Then I'm going to add it back. It's going to go through the OAuth flow. I've already given permission. So, oh, damn it. Nobody look at this. Just a second here. Okay. Now that I'm logged back in, when we go over to Discord here, we can see that it ran the thing and it ran too many times, but I'm working on that. And then it also, added the role to my account. And when we go back to ingest, we can see if I refresh the runs, we can see the clerk user updated, and it looks like it ran 3 times, which is interesting. But so here's this, and then for each of these, oh, why did this run 4 times? Fascinating. Look at that. Okay, so this is channels, messages. What? What am I doing that's causing this to run 4 times? Let's go look. So I've got my ingest folder down here. We've got our Discord. Await promise all. Only does it once. Interesting. Why would that run multiple times? That's super weird that it did that. Is it doing it off of each of these? That also wouldn't make sense. I don't know. I'll debug this later. We'll see. We'll see what happened. I don't know what's going on. Where are we at? Yeah, Joel did a talk about ingest. That was a good talk if you want to see more of an actual explanation. API could be a separate package in a monorepo. It could, I guess. Yeah, I know you're happy, Vinny. Let's see. Oh yeah, you missed the excitement, Aaron. I'm pretty sure I just leaked my Discord account. Do I need to like change something? Nobody can log in with that code, right? Because that code would only log in this browser. It won't let anybody do. I don't know. I don't exactly understand how it works. Don't hack me, bro. Yeah. No. It's fine. It'll be fine. I'll look it up on my own. Famous last words indeed. All right, fine. Let's look it up now. Discord QR code leak. How does this actually work? No, that's not it. So if somebody else scanned the QR code, it would allow me to log into their account. So basically, if you use my QR code and like approved it, it would let me log into your account. Okay, so it's actually, this is like the opposite of a leak. This is me trying to fish you all. How about that, Vinny? Device information tied to the QR code login. That's fine. I'm good with that. But I feel like I've leaked all of the information about my machine at this point. Don't. Let's see. Tried to do Discord sign in from a logged in profile to an incognito page. So it wasn't the same session. Okay, that's good. That's good. Reversal, indeed. I always thought I'd look good in a fisherman's cap. I do appreciate that. The only leak that I had any issues with was early on. I was using Hasura maybe, and me and the guest on Learn with Jason, we were trying to build something and we were going fast, so we didn't do the step to like lock down the Hasura server. And somebody in the chat, like, they were being helpful, but they were absolutely hacking us, started adding rows to the database that said secure your server. Which was pretty funny. So yeah. Don't hack yourself. That's good. That's good stuff. Okay. What are we doing? We were going through this site, and yeah, I don't know. So I saw that somebody upgraded their account, which, first of all, thank you so much. But yeah, if anybody is not subscribed yet and has been considering supporting Code TV's content, now would be a great time to give this a test. And so the way that this works is, if you log out here, I'm going to go into my clerk stuff. Oops. I'm going to get rid of this. We're going to save it. And then I'm going to log back in. I have like a bunch of tabs open now. So once I get logged in, it's going to take me in and it's going to say, hey, you want to upgrade your account? And then I click one of these buttons. It opens up the right thing. Okay, good. Happy about that. And then once you've subscribed, it will take you to, so you can see here, we haven't claimed our early access to new episodes yet. We do have the Discord hooked up, so we have that perk. So then if I do go through with that subscription, it will add these details to my clerk account, which then proceed, if I refresh, proceed to show me that I have in fact now claimed that silver tier perk. And if I go to the support page, it shows me that I'm a silver tier supporter. So if anybody's been thinking about becoming a Code TV supporter, it's $5 a month. It helps us so much. It truly does. And it also gives us a chance to live check the thing. Oh, Aaron, thank you so much. Okay, so Aaron just added the thing. Aaron, did you by chance hook up your Discord in there in the profile? It'll let you hook up your Discord, because if you do that and you're in the Code TV Discord, which you can get into the Code TV Discord here, codetv.link/Discord. Immediately share Aaron's password. Yeah, no, it shouldn't have anything too wild in here. It should just have like email. But so we can see that like all of these different pieces have happened. Here is the Stripe subscription updated, and so this will show like here it's going to retrieve the customer, and we should see that's not Aaron, that's somebody else. And see, and then here, because we didn't have the this is probably Aaron's account, didn't have that set. So where is subscription changed? I bet this is it. Trying to do this in a way where I don't like retrieve subscription, retrieve. Do we get an email? Oh, that is a full-on address. Here's Aaron. And you can see just peeking, right? And then that goes through and it gets the product. And so the product details are, this is going to be where's the name of it? The gold tier supporter, right? And then it goes through and it sends the Discord message and it says the full message in here. I thought it did. No, it doesn't. I think it just says like, oh, there it is. New supporter, right? Right? Pretty dope. But so here's all the cool things that happen there and all of this kicks off in individual functions. So if any one of these things fails, it can be retried. And I'm trying to see here. Oh, I just need to refresh the run. See, now here, this one is failing. And it's failing because somebody doesn't have their account set up. Ooh, I'm trying not to like fully dox anybody. Oh, this is interesting. Somebody managed to get in without a first or last name and a null username. That's going to break. This one, that's the role ID. Here's the attempt to get the user. That user's not, or that's the role update. Interestingly, though, it failed on, interesting. But so check this out, though. Now we can see that Robert's got the role. So on Lead Heat, a gold tier supporter. Thank you so much. Same for Aaron. That gold tier supporter badge, right? Pretty sick, right? I'm pretty happy with this overall. I feel like this is very cool. It makes me really happy. These automations are like they get through, but it's good. I'm fully into it. And thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Robert, for being down to do that. Grill dad shenanigans. Oh, I love it. I love it. Let's see. Yeah, you're probably right, Mateo. All right, we're done. We're not looking at anybody else's details. But so let's see. What else we got? Grilling, nice. Living on the edge. Thank you, Robert, for subscribing. Really, really appreciate that. But it's cool, right, Aaron? Like I'm so happy about this stuff. It's it really, really is nice. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. And let's see, Margs and Learn. There you go. So this is sort of where I'm really happy with how all this has been coming together. We've got all sorts of fun things happening. You can update your bio here, and again, that all shows up on the public profiles. Those get linked to your your profile account. So, for example, if I go into this new episode of Lead Heat, I should switch this one to public because it's public as of this morning. But so if I click into, let's say, like George, then it shows the episode that George is in. It also, if I go into like Mark, you can see everything that Mark has been in. And if you go to me, it shows, oh, this is the wrong one. I gotta fix that. I gotta like take that. Nobody look while I'm just gonna fix this real quick because it's the wrong Jason. It's pulling. How is it pulling from the wrong instance? It's like somehow it's in. This is insanity, isn't it? Where is my sanity stuff? In here. Sorry, I'm just fixing this because it's definitely broken right now. And let's fix you. You get the boot. And that's going to kick off a build. Here's the other nice thing about this. If I come back to the sharing screen here. This site builds so freaking fast. It's just like, it's really nice. So check this out. It builds in like 2.5 minutes, and there are hundreds, probably over 1,000 pages on this site, and it's building in 2.5 minutes. And there are things that I know for sure I'm doing that are inefficient, and it's still nice and snappy, and that makes me really happy. Wrong, Jason, right? Cron jobs for public toggling. Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, actually, I think I can even do it with sanity, maybe. Because what I should be able to do, if I go to, let's see, go to YouTube, we'll go to Code TV, and we'll grab the latest episode, Elite Heat. And then if I come back in here and I go to my content, we'll go to the series. Here's Elite Heat. And we go into this season. And then down here, we've got Tiger versus George. And the piece that I'm missing is that I needed this YouTube ID, which that's what actually takes it live. And then I think maybe I need to upgrade for that. I could have sworn that Sanity had a timed thing, like go live at scheduled publish sort of thing. But then this will kick off a new build because now we're doing that. So you can see the deploy hook is from Sanity. So here's the other one that's firing up now, and that's got our new bits. But then if I go back out to where I was, Code TV profile. What? Fix this. Am I on the... Did I not publish? You have been changed. Oh yeah, you want to see something else cool that's going on in here? There's a new CSS property for field sizing, so that when you are typing, this will automatically size to whatever amount of content you put in it, which it's so nice. Like, I love that. What's that one called? It is called fit content, maybe? Text area, field sizing content. Like, just a delightful little... I can't zoom in. Just a delightful little, like, quality of life upgrade for developers, where in order to do this before, you would need to, like, there was JavaScript you had to do. You had to run these calculations to figure out what the right thing was and get it all sorted out. And this is much nicer. You added your website. It's there, but it's black. Like, it's... Wish I could make that submit to the same place. We'll have to go look at that. It shows up, but it's black. Is it on your... what's your profile URL? Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing here. um, does it take something like add empty lines at the end? Oh, that's a good point. I don't think it does. We could try. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can add like some padding bottom on it. Yeah, I mean you can do something like this. So just extra padding to kind of give you as much space as you want down there. I think I've got it set at just kind of like a little bit of breathing room. So that would be no padding. That's the padding I have. And you could increase that if you wanted to, it looks like. Gotta do your actual job. Okay, fine. Okay, so what else? What else is there? I took I think I talked about this before, but I turned 40 on a couple weeks back. Yeah, a couple weeks back. And I did this thread on Blue Sky where I kind of went through like all the things that some of the things that whatever's on my mind really. We talked about some of it today already, actually. Like we talked about the what was the I don't remember where it is. The money thing. Talked about the power thing. But I was kind of just going through some of the stuff that I like because I feel like I'm obviously like I hope I hope everybody likes themselves, but I like myself. I feel like I have a life that I enjoy. I'm happy with where I'm at. I feel like I'm in the best place that I've been in my life so far, and I expect that to keep going. And so I wanted to kind of capture some of the stuff that I think about a lot. And some of it's fresh, like the information about like eating well is very fresh and very just so disappointing. Because I kept trying to convince myself that like maybe someday I would find a way to have like nothing but cheese and that would be okay. But turns out I gotta eat the right stuff and those sorts of things. But yeah, like humble brag. You got it. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Get you in the future podcast. Yeah, hit me up when you're actually booking and we'll make something happen. But yeah, so we this was one of those like, but I also think it's like a lot of the stuff that I learned was things like this. Like when I stopped worrying about looking foolish, I swear to God, my life instantly changed in such a tremendous way because it was like, okay, I did a bad thing. Who cares? It's kind of funny. Like we can just steer into it. It's okay to be bad at stuff. It's okay to make mistakes because that's how you learn by making mistakes. If you can do everything perfectly on the first try, you're not challenging yourself enough. And so that I think was like one of the big things. This story is great. So we have this friend, her name is Leslie. She's great. She works in tech, but before she worked in tech, she was a professional baker, among other things. And every year she makes this amazing cake for somebody, and you never know who it's going to be. But this was my wife's birthday. She asked, "What do you want for your birthday?" And my wife, we were like, "Oh, you want a carrot cake?" And she doesn't like carrot cake, so we joked like, "Oh yeah, you're getting a carrot cake." And this ended up being, it was kind of like a yellow cake, but it has if you've ever been to Momofuku Milk Bar, they have these sort of like savory, crumbly bits It's kind of like a streusel topping, but it's kind of not. I don't know. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but anyways, that's what's going on down here. You can kind of see the little crumblies. But anyways, those crumblies are also in the middle of the cake. Um, it was one of the best cakes I've ever had in my entire life. Like it's so good, so special. Um, so anyways, during the pandemic, can't go anywhere. It's 2020 and Marissa's birthday is in May. So we're still locked down and we weren't going anywhere. We weren't it was still pretty spooky outside, right? So we were home for her birthday. We couldn't throw a party, we couldn't have friends over. And I thought to myself, I know what'll make her happy. I'm going to make a cake. So I texted Leslie and I said, "Leslie, can you send me the recipe for that cake you made?" And she did. And this is when I realized that it's not just developers who are bad at writing docs, because there was a whole lot of stuff that she just knows that didn't make it into those docs. And so I ended up making this cake. These are the same recipe. This didn't go well. It also tasted like garbage. Like Marissa, I'm honestly surprised that she took a bite at all, but she took one bite and then we both just like made a sad face and dumped it into the garbage because something was missing. There were many things wrong with this cake. Like I didn't have enough frosting. That was because I didn't make a grocery store run, so I was doing the best I could. We just didn't have enough of some of the stuff that we needed. But like I missed a leavening agent or something because it was little pancakes and it was so wrong. So many things went so wrong with that. But yeah, it wasn't sugar. I had sugar. I have a hunch. There were things that everybody who bakes just like knew, things like, oh yeah, put your flour through a sifter so that it's like lighter. And he said to use baker's flour, I think it was, which has something in it, like baking soda or something. I didn't have that. And they know how to make it, right? Like she would just make it at home because it's household stuff, but I didn't know what any of that was. And so just use regular flour and it didn't go well. But also, to be fair, I had most of the stuff. So I think I just did things wrong. I'm not sure which things, but some things went horribly wrong in this recipe. I don't know if I missed a step, forgot an ingredient, did way too much or not enough of something. Whatever it was barely edible. It wasn't edible. We threw it away. And now I keep this picture to remind me that I'm not good at everything. Yeah, baking soda and baking powder are not the same thing. Who knows? Self-rising flour, who knows? I don't know what I was using. Like something was missing the cake. How dare you? No, you're not wrong though. But yeah, so little stuff like that I think was so important. In because I feel like I wouldn't have even tried to make this cake if I still had that sense of what if I screw up? Like I don't want to look foolish. I never would have even attempted to make a cake. And I have since baked things that are much better than this cake because I learned stuff when I made this cake so poorly, right? I couldn't have learned it if I hadn't tried it. And I mean, I probably could have learned it without making the mistakes if I'd had guidance and under different circumstances, maybe I would have been able to get Leslie to help me make the cake. But that wasn't the situation I was in. I was either going to try it or not try it, and there was no guidance outside of this text message that had the recipe in it. So I did the best I could. I made a whole bunch of mistakes, and now I know a bunch of things about baking that I didn't know before then that have allowed me to make things that aren't like I've never made this cake, and I don't think that I want to put the time in to get good enough to be able to make that cake. But I have been able to do things like I can help Marissa with cookies. I can do pancakes. I can do I make a really good biscuit. Actually, I got a recipe from Chance the Dev actually. And stuff like that. Like I can bake. Not a lot of things, but the things that I've baked, I've learned tricks that make them all work a little bit better, and I know more things about, like, different types of ovens and different, just, stuff that I didn't know before, and you learn it by getting it wrong, and same with, like, all of my cooking. I was a terrible cook when I was younger, 'cause I didn't know anything about spices, I wasn't trained, all that kinda stuff. I worked in restaurants to learn about how to make that restaurant's food, and that taught me some things, and then I just because I was interested, I learned more. I got really into, like, the YouTube cooking videos, Kenji Lopez, and, websites like The Kitchen and before everything blew up over there, like America's Test Kitchen, stuff like that. Um, and all of that has led to me, like, making a bunch of food that was fine, and it all got better, and now I think I'm a pretty good cook. Like, I'm not gonna go head to head with a professional chef, but I'll go head to head with any home cook for sure. Like, I think I can do a really good job. Um, but it requires being willing to make mistakes because, if you're gonna try something for the first time, like, again, if you can get it right on the first try, you're not challenging yourself. You know, there's a lot of opportunity to learn and grow that requires being uncomfortable, and a lot of being uncomfortable means not being able to do things well. Um, Food channel and Discord, we could probably put that together. That sounds like a reasonable thing. Pastry is the hardest to dominate. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wasn't I going to start a cooking channel? Here's the thing. Marissa and I started that cooking channel. It does exist. It's got one video on it. We stopped updating it over creative differences because I wanted to I wanted to make the videos very. We'll use the word cinematic as shorthand. And she wanted to do the opposite of that. Like, she was like, "Just set up a phone and we'll just do it." And I couldn't do that, and so our creative differences led to the disbanding of our channel. We might try it again. We've talked about it, and we decided that what we need to do is plan. Because what we were trying to do was, like, we had this vague idea of what we were gonna make, and then we would start cooking, but, like, we were filming at the same time as we were cooking, and I was having Marissa operate cameras, which she didn't really care about or want to. Um, and we had some issues where, like, she thought that it wasn't recording, and so she hit the record button, which turned the camera off as we started doing a very long scene that we couldn't repeat without going shopping again. So it just, like, stuff like that we were just like, "This sucks. Like, this isn't fun." So, if we get enough income to where we could hire somebody to help us with the filming, we would bring it back. Um, or who knows? Maybe we'll just set up a phone again and do it like we did during the pandemic. Um, yeah, creative differences, exactly. uh, I love you too. Thank you for hanging out. What's up, Michael? Welcome back. But so I think the thing that, like, are there any other, like, really fun ones in here that I think are important? Oh, here's a good one. What I was thinking about is I remember when I was younger, I was really, really, like, anti-clutter. And I didn't believe in keeping stuff, and I had this very minimal mindset. You can find, well, maybe they might be gone now, but I had for a long time all these posts about, like, in the height of the digital nomad thing, I was traveling a lot, and I feel like the digital nomad name got pretty sullied. It represented a certain group that I did not want to be associated with. So I pulled down some of that stuff just to avoid feeding into it. But as part of that, I had, like, whittled down everything I owned in the world to a suitcase and a backpack, and I had nothing else. I didn't have a storage unit. I didn't have anything, right? And as a result, I got rid of, I didn't have photos, I didn't have art, I didn't have, my old CD wallets or just any of the things that you sort of collect from your childhood. And I didn't realize that made me sad until I got back and started setting up my house. Because, Marissa and I moved together. I guess, I mean, we've lived together forever, but we bought our first house in 2018. And when we started setting up that house, we just realized, like, we had photos of Marissa's family, but I didn't have any photos of mine. And so I had to go, like we just took photos and got them printed out and all that kind of stuff. But like I don't have my parents have baby photos of me. Um and like my siblings and I as kids, and but I don't have any of that stuff. And like I don't have any of my art. I don't have any of my like my band CDs. I don't have those anymore. Um I've actually there's a recording of my band that we went to LA and we paid a really good producer. It was the producer who worked on if you're an emo kid, you might remember the band Finch. It was one of the producers who he recorded Finch, and we paid him to record a three song EP for us. I don't have that recording. Like I can't find it. And I'm kind of bummed about it because it is, again, we paid a very good producer. It's the best recording of our band that exists. No shade to the other producers who worked on it, but like he was just the most experienced guy, and that was the nicest studio that we had worked in. Um, so it sucks to not have those recordings. And I didn't at the time I was like, oh, I'm being a minimalist. I'm removing clutter from my life. I'm only focused on what I care about. Well, now I have the studio, right? I am the opposite of a minimalist now. I have a studio space that is full of tons and tons and tons of video gear, and I have my house, which is we host people there. It's packed full of things for hosting and cookbooks, and we try to make it real cozy. So lots of chairs and pillows and lights and all this stuff. We're not really minimalist anymore. We're trying to be, we're trying to baby bear it, right? Like not too much, not too little. We're trying to get it just right. And what I've noticed is that I started like I got a Polaroid camera, and I have it over here. I don't know where it is, but so I got this Polaroid camera, and then we've started just kind of taking like Polaroid photos. And these are the ones that like weird things happen. Like the film got all weird on this one, and this is one where people were blinking, and this is another one where people were blinking. But so we do like every time I do a web dev challenge, for example, I'll do a photo on a Polaroid camera, and then I've got a not a cork board, but it's like a felt, basically a cork board, but it's made out of a black felt. That's what you can actually see it on the thing here. That's what this is. And every time I do a web dev challenge, I just take a Polaroid of the group that was in it, and I write the date and I stick it on the board. And then, a lot of times I don't look at it, but every once in a while I'll kind of stop and I'll look at that board, and I'll notice the dates, and I'll think about it a little bit. And I'm like, man, it is just so freaking cool that I've been able to do the stuff that I've been able to do. And those photos play such a big role in that. And the dates too are really important. Like this is one of those things that like when your phone starts showing you memories and stuff, like I kind of like that, but what I really like is when it's just like physical mementos in a space of like a thing that you did, or a person that you were connected to, right? Like I have a lot of little stuff like this. Like this, right? This is something that I made this joke on Twitter, and Cassidy Williams thought it was funny, and she at the time was doing a lot of I think this is like laser engraving on wood. So I just got this in the mail, and it was a my own little joke that Cassidy thought was funny enough that she put it on a piece of wood and sent me this memento. And so this is back in, and it's got a date on it. This is July of 2020. I think we were all debating online about how you should get fired if you don't have passion for your job. And so I made this crack. But this is such a cool little thing. And I would, I don't really care about this tweet that I made, but this idea that like a friend of mine made this nice thing for me because I did something that made her laugh. It's a nice little memory, right? And it's like a moment in time, and it reminds me of, in 2020 I was working at Netlify. I was on the team with, Cassidy was on my team, and Phil Hawksworth and Sarah Manixick and Ben Hong and Sarah Drasner, and like it was like what a magical time that was in my career. That is still probably the best team that no shade to my other teams, but like that team was just so special. And we were able to do so much fun stuff, and it was also at like the right time in the industry where everybody was talking about DevRel, and people would talk about us like we were the dream team of DevRel, and it was just a cool time to be in the space. And this is my little memento. And I got a bunch of stuff like this, like the Sarah Drasner's book, and then this down here. Oh wait, you can't even see what I'm looking at. Oh, you get over there. There's. So you can see like up on the top shelf there's Sarah Drasner's book, and then I've got down below my computer actually. You can see that little red box with the yellow writing on it. That is from the first agency I ever worked with to make a big video project. They, for some reason, made their own breakfast cereal. It's called Ruthless Fruitless. They made a really unsettling commercial about raccoons like murdering people for their cereal. And they sent clients, I don't know how many, but we were one of them. They sent us a bowl, a spoon, the cereal, and this and a Walkman, a functional Walkman. A functional Walkman, complete with, if I can figure out how it works, an actual cassette tape in it called Breakfast Bangers. And it is like, it's songs about cereal. Like, it's just, I mean, the whole thing is just, it's so ridiculous. But it's a Walkman. Like, I will never use this, but it makes me so happy. And then I've got this box of cereal. It's actually cereal. I've never opened it. I'm sure that it's probably full of bugs. I don't know. It's sealed. It's not full of bugs, but it is definitely stale. It's like fun, like little things like this. So anyways, get mementos and have little memories in your life. That's really, really nice. Oh, thanks. Yeah, they were really like a wonderful team. I miss that team a lot. If I could snap my fingers and have unlimited money, like I would just go hire them and we would just make dumb stuff together all the time. Like honestly, that's the dream of Code TV, is that I somehow figure out how to get enough support that I can just start collecting my favorite funny people in tech and we can just make stuff. Like I'm currently trying to get a show funded. I want y'all know Annie Sexton. She's in like the Leet Heat commercials. She's on Leet Heat itself. She's been in a bunch of the stuff. She's been on Web Dev Challenge. Also is a DevRel at Fly, makes YouTube videos on her own. She's got this great idea for like a Bill Nye style show, like a science explainer that's sort of visual and a lot of tactile things, but that explains all of these AI concepts. It really just like tech concepts in general, but starting with some of the AI stuff, like explaining what is a neural network, how does a tokenizer work, what the heck is a vector database, all these things that we hear people talk about them all the time, but they're very abstract. If you break them down, they actually make a lot of sense. If you show them on like a small scale. So we want to do this show, probably called something like Annie Explains, where we dive into specific topics in a like Bill Nye format. So kind of like a science lab, sort of playful, not like kids show, but like that sort of wholesome vibe, to explain these things. And so, we want to find the right sponsor who wants to be the person that's, sponsoring, like explaining how AI works to people, which feels like right now there are a lot of folks who would benefit from that education and a lot of companies that would benefit from being the company that's at the center of that. I just got to find the right one and get him to give me enough money to make the show. But then that means now Annie's getting paid to make stuff for Code TV. And if we can keep that train going eventually, then I'm able to bring in more people, lots of people, which is why the like becoming a supporter is so helpful. That's why I'm trying to figure out more deals with partners. That's why we always have sponsors on the content, is because it makes it possible for me to pay people for their time. And it, if I could do anything in the world, it would be to figure out how to like snap my fingers and just have a couple $1 million a year that I could spend on production and paying people to be part of it. Because then I could bring back like maybe I could get Cassidy to come and do a show. I know she's got ideas. I've heard her talk about them. Maybe I could get Phil Hawksworth to come and do something ridiculous. And like if you've seen the Lead Heat commercials for Dino, Phil is the narrator on those, and he is funny. Like Phil is legitimately probably one of the funniest people I've met. Bring back Tara Minixick and just let her go full unhinged. If you watched Netlify did a Tale of Two Universes video. Let me actually hold on. Let me pull up some references here if you want to go down a deep dive of like funny people on the internet. Here is, let's see, we had YouTube, Code TV playlists. This is not a full list, but these are a bunch of the Code TV commercials. And then down, did I publish the Dino? I didn't. So the Dino ones, I think, ended up on the Dino channel. Where are they? A month ago, this would have been older. Dang, they're publishing a lot. Here we go. Dino Nuggies. Right. So this is, if you haven't seen this, this is real funny. And this is narrated by Phil. I don't know if I've got it set up to play audio, so I'm just not going to bother. And then we did the Tale of Two Universes thing, which I have down here. Here is. Where is she? Here she is. Is this playing through? Like, do y'all hear this? This is Tara. Tara is frightening. Well, anyways, this is so good. It's so good. You should watch this. Watch this and watch how unhinged Tara is, and just hope you never meet her in a dark alley, I think is the short answer. I need to send her a message. But yeah, so anyways, this is kind of the dream. This is the joke. Is that like I want to make more stuff like this, and it would be great if it didn't all need to be fully funded by a company that wants ROI. Like, and I think this has kind of been the challenge is there's stuff that I want to do that I think would be really valuable from a community sense, that it's just hard for a company to say like, okay, but why would we specifically do that? Like, how is that going to impact our bottom line? And a lot of times the answer is it would be brand awareness, which I feel very strongly that I've talked about this a little bit actually. Okay. Let's do a thing because I feel like this is such an important thing to talk about. Why should a company sponsor something that doesn't directly lead to an immediate conversion, right? So brand awareness marketing. My argument is that brand awareness is the way that you make the funnel big enough that the people who convert, because you can guess that a funnel is going to convert at 1 to 5%, right? That's just sort of how it works. Brand awareness is how you broaden the top of the funnel so that 1 to 5% goes from being a couple of people to being a couple hundred people to being a couple thousand people. And I would say that probably the best example I've seen of this is Red Bull. The way that Red Bull works is that they are everywhere. And the things that they fund some are like traditional advertising. You walk into a convenience store and you'll see a Red Bull advertisement on the side of the fridge, or they sponsor the fridge itself and it's like fully wrapped in Red Bull stuff. You will also see a significant amount of Red Bull stuff that is not advertising Red Bull at all. For example, we all maybe saw it was like a world record skydiving attempt where a guy jumped from like outer space and skydived, and it was like it was a very cool thing. Like the skydive was so high that the biggest worry was that there wasn't enough atmosphere for him to stop himself from spinning if he started to spin out of control. Like that was the major fear, was that he would just basically spin until he blacked out and die. That's how high he was. There was no atmosphere. And so watching this, it was this incredible, like, extreme sports moment. And at no point did this guy say, like, let me drink my pre-jump Red Bull, or did they say, like, and don't forget, you'll get 2-for-1 Red Bulls if you mention this advertisement. Instead, he was like, he wore, like, Red Bull made it possible. They funded this thing. And the guy was wearing a helmet that had the Red Bull logo on it, and otherwise they just didn't talk about it. It was like, hey, this is the world record attempt presented by Red Bull, and then they talked about this guy doing the thing, right? So at the commercial breaks or whatever, they would mention that Red Bull was a thing, but it wasn't for Red Bull. Nobody drank a Red Bull. They didn't push Red Bull. There were no links to Red Bull. It was just, hey, we know, Red Bull like community, that you are into extreme sports. And so we want to give you this gift of this thing that couldn't exist unless somebody paid for it. And we have money. And so we're going to pay for this thing that you would otherwise not get so that you can enjoy it. And maybe think about Red Bull sometimes, right? They did the same thing where Travis Pastrana skydived without a parachute. He, like, jumped out of a biplane that had the biplane had the Red Bull logo on it. And Travis Pastrana jumps out of this plane and, like, lands on another skydiver, and they, like, somehow didn't die. It was a very cool stunt, right? They do this with BMX, they do this with skateboarding, they do this with motocross. Like, they just sort of show up in these places. I think one of their more recent ones is they had a very fast drone and an F1 car, and they, like, raced them. And it ended up being a very cool, like, drone point of view shot of following an F1 car. But the thing that's so cool about all this is that they basically have cemented themselves as being, like, the core of this extreme sports culture through this brand awareness work, because they've realized that by doing things that nobody else is doing, people will choose to watch. Like, people want to see Travis Pastrana doing a stunt. They want to see world record attempts. They want to see a world first drone versus F1 car race. They don't really want to watch a Red Bull webinar. They're not going to choose to watch a Red Bull ad. And for every Old Spice ad that goes viral, there's 1,000 that get, the only views they get are paid, because that's what they're for. They're ads. They're supposed to be paid, right? And Red Bull still does this. The Red Bull Gives You Wings ads are still running, and they're still promoted, and they put budget behind that. I'm not saying that's not important, but what I'm saying is this brand awareness work, where a company like Red Bull realized that they could become the brand that is, like, the face of, the reason that this community, this extreme sports community, gets these cool things. That brand awareness is huge. And it makes such a big impact. Like, I'd say Gatorade has done the same thing with a lot of, like, sporting teams, where there's always a Gatorade cooler on the sidelines. Like, you can't have a sporting event without thinking about Gatorade, right? And that's just, it's one of those things where, it's very easy to discount brand awareness, but if nobody knows that you exist, they're not willing to entertain you as an option, right? Like, your brand needs to exist in the list of possibilities when people say, hey, I'm thinking about doing a thing. And people will start to say, oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And if you haven't done any brand awareness work, no one's going to say, have you tried this company? Because they don't know that you exist. Right? So nobody gets to the consideration phase. They don't get to explore. They're not going to show up on your homepage and wonder what you're about, because they'll never hear your name in the first place to make that assessment. So the brand awareness work is how you become a brand that people consider in the first place. Then it's on you to do, probably additional marketing, paid ads and things like that, more traditional things, but also to just deliver on your funnel. When somebody hits your homepage and they say, I need to solve this problem, and somebody says, oh, you should try this company, and they go to your homepage should convince them, oh yes, this will solve my problem, So you got to do all the phases of things. But if you're not doing brand marketing, brand awareness marketing, you are in this world where you're basically saying like, me and all the people I know are my target customers. And people will rely on, they're like, well, if I build it, people will come. Well, no, they won't. If you build it and don't tell anybody, how can they show up? You have to build it and tell people, and then they will come, right? And so this is one of the reasons that I think that what we're doing at Code TV is kind of a unique. It's unique in the space because people choose to watch it. Like I'm very grateful that this is the case. But like people are opting into, like 10,000 views on a video is kind of that's like a miss for us. And so, we're regularly seeing 30, 40, 100,000 views on a video. And for a company that is, running a YouTube channel that gets 100 views a video, this would be a good place to invest, right? And if they did something that people wanted to watch and associated themselves as the heart of it, and this is why I think Web Dev Challenge works so well, is that it's got webinar components. But even something like Leet Heat, where like you spin the wheel and you know that like Neon is the database category, or that CodePen is the CSS category. Those are ways for people to just start to build an association with the brand, and they hear the brand name, and then later when they're considering things, like your brand is one of the ones that they recall. And I can see this happening in myself because like I have done a lot of work with Clerk and Convex and Neon, and they've been great partners to the company. So when I'm talking about databases, like I'm gonna recommend them. They do good work, and I heard about them, and I've because of the work that we did, they're on my mind a lot because it's something that I'm working with. So when people are asking about databases, like, yeah, hey, have you checked out Convex? It's the sort of thing that you sort of you don't even realize that it's happening. And this is why I think it's so easy for people to write it off. They assume that there's no effort that goes into that type of work. They assume that it just happens if a company is good enough. And every once in a while, sure, something is different enough that it's notable with no paid efforts at all. But generally speaking, these companies are spending a lot of money, whether it's sponsoring conferences, whether it is doing, promoted content, whether they're whatever, there's always a way, right? But they do a thing that gets them out there, that gets people to pay attention, that puts their brand on the mind, and then that converts into people being willing to consider, to explore the brand as a potential product that solves their problem. So anyways, that's the whole thing. So just in a role as an EA to build an R&D team. The idea of something not being billable was unjustifiable. Yeah, right. This is the whole thing. Like you have to be able to convince. Well, and like it's also this sort of. So here's another big thing that I think a lot of companies miss is they don't understand second order effects. Like I was giving spreadsheet guys shit about this earlier, and it really comes into play here. If you look at the spreadsheet, right, and you say, okay, Red Bull exec team, we're going to pay for Travis Pastrana to skydive without a parachute. A tech executive, the average tech executive today is going to look at that pitch and they're going to say, how does that get new signups, right? How does that sell more cans of Red Bull? And somebody would say, well, it's going to build awareness so that more people know the name Red Bull, so that when they go to the grocery store, they remember, oh yeah, that's the one that Travis Pastrana that paid for Travis Pastrana to do that skydive. Let me try that, right? Like they get that one instead of the nameless energy drinks that are in the case next to it. And a tech executive today, the average tech executive today would say, could we make it so that everybody has to buy a Red Bull before they watch the video? And you'd say no. And they would say, then we're not going to pay for it. And so we miss out on all these really interesting things that would be so good for the community, so good for the companies, so fun to make, so fun to watch. And it's all because people can't imagine like a step 2. It has to be step 1. It's I spend $1 and I get $2 back. And if it's I spend $1 and then somebody like tells 3 friends and one of those friends converts at a $30,000 enterprise contract, that intermediate step is unacceptable. It has to be, I go directly to somebody and then they buy a $30,000 contract, right? It's this sort of unimaginative, like we can't trust that a process works, right? But at the same time, companies like Coca-Cola make $55 billion a year, something like that. Guess how much they spend on marketing? 10%, $5 billion on marketing. And most of it is brand awareness. That's why literally every restaurant you go to has Coca-Cola somewhere on their sign, right? They've got the Coca-Cola fountain machines. They've got the Coca-Cola ads. There's the Coca-Cola Super Bowl ads. Literally everything is branded with Coca-Cola. They know. They blanket the earth with that shit because they recognize that when somebody goes in to make a buying decision, the brand they know is the one they choose, right? There's a lot of documentation about this. Like familiarity bias is a whole thing where you will choose the brand you know, even if you don't know anything about it. Like if I see the same person in the coffee shop every day, no interactions, we pass by each other, we both have the same coffee routine. If that person and another person show up in a job interview, I will unconsciously lean toward the person I've seen before. No additional information about who they are. That's why networks are so important, and that's why brand awareness is so goddamn important. If you don't do this stuff, you're asking people to not only overcome, like, how do they find you in the first place, right? Which is a big hurdle, and people are paying all this money on SEO marketing, which doesn't work anymore, and especially now with like the weird, like everything is being served by an AI bot, and Google is like pulling results from wherever, and like you don't even scroll down, you just see what Google says and take that and run. Like you can't do SEO marketing anymore, but companies will happily pay 30, 40, $50,000 a month on SEO marketing. But this idea of doing something that people would choose to watch, they're like, I don't get the ROI. I don't know, man. These playbooks are all they're all a little outdated and a little bit broken, but it is what it is. Off topic, what font do I use for the headers on the website? So, whoops, let's do this one, and then let's go back to the website. This is a font called Supermassive. It's got 3 weights, and I think the license for it was through Hoffler. I don't know. I bought a web license for it, and it wasn't like, it was expensive, but it wasn't like brutally expensive. Like if you go try to buy certain fonts, the web license is like eye-watering. This one is for a business. It made sense. I was happy with that. How do I come by the idea of the content I bring on this platform? Leet Heat and Web Dev Challenge specifically. So lots of this is, I'll give you a short answer and then I'll expand a little bit. So the short answer is, I look for formats that have worked in different verticals, and I create a similar version for tech. So for example, Web Dev Challenge is heavily modeled after the Great British Bake Off. Leet Heat is modeled after a mashup of Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, and Hot Ones. And other shows that were, I was just talking earlier about, like we want to do a show that's basically a Bill Nye, but for tech concepts. We have another one that we've been pitching that's like Queer Eye, or Restaurant Rescue, or Bar Rescue, but for businesses around like saving their websites and their presentation. So that's the short answer is look for something that worked somewhere else and just repurpose it in tech. The longer answer is, I spent a lot of time making different types of content. I was making tutorials, I was making short form stuff, I was making webinars, I was making talking head videos, and like I still do some of all of that. I do a lot less of all of it for sure, but like right now I would say I'm doing the equivalent of a talking head video. It's just poorly edited, right? But what I was noticing was that that market is really flooded. Like there are a lot of people doing those sorts of things, and the people who succeed at it have a very particular, it's not the same personality, but it's like some core personality traits that make somebody really successful in different types of content. Um, and I don't I believe, like, to a certain extent, to be successful as a talking head, I think you have to adopt a bit of a persona, and I think that's fine, but it wasn't comfortable for me. I didn't wanna feel like I had to act every time the camera came on. Um, like, if I'm acting, I want it to be because we wrote a skit and, like, there's a character that I'm playing, not because every time I get on camera, I have to play the character that is, like, my on-screen persona. So, for me, I believe if you met me out for a drink somewhere, the experience of what's happening right now would be pretty similar, except other people would also be talking. Right? Like, I don't think I'm a particularly different person on and off screen. And I think that made it hard for me to do some of the talking head stuff and to do some of the more like it's like a attention economy content. And I feel like I said that as if it's derogatory. I don't mean it derogatory. I actually think it's fine. It's just not the sort of thing that I was good at. Like I don't think it's where my strengths lie. And so instead I started thinking, well, what's somewhere where I would be doing something that I really, really enjoyed? And what I enjoy is people. I enjoy building. I enjoy like the learning and the kind of this exploration of what's possible in a way that is very uh, co what's the word I'm looking for? It's not competitive. It's not even cooperative. It's almost like parallel supportive, if that makes sense. Like I'm not. It's not cooperative like you and I work together on a project. It's almost like parallel supportive in that you and I are working on projects at the same time and we're both stoked for each other, but we're not really helping. Does that make sense? Like we're kind of working on our own things. It's like if you've ever gone to a sometimes people do like quiet craft parties where everybody brings a project and everybody sort of sits in the same room and there's a little bit of chatter, but mostly you're just sort of working on something that you enjoy, right? I'm big on that. Like I think I tend to seek out people who want to do that sort of thing. And so when I thought about what I would want to make, that was sort of what was in my head, right? Like I liked the idea of the Great British Bake Off because that show is talented people trying stuff that's a little harder than they're capable of building, in a group full of equally talented people or differently talented people who are then going to like tease each other, but they're all very supportive. Like you never watch an episode of Bake Off and think like, "Oh, that one's the villain." Everybody on that show wants everybody else to succeed. They're all sad when like when somebody leaves, and they're all relieved that they got to stay. But like, it's never. I don't know. It doesn't have that reality show vibe of like, oh, I'm going to sabotage this person so that I get to stay, or like I'm going to psychologically terrorize my competitor so that I have a better chance of staying till next week. It's more like we're all doing this because we're good at it, and I want the people to stay who are the best at it, and I hope that's me, right? And that feels, it's subtle, but it feels very different to me. And then Leet Heat, I just really like the idea of making a game show. I thought it would be fun. I was kind of running through different ideas of how we could make this work, and I love the Hot Ones format. I was kind of accidentally getting into hot sauce. Like I'm not really into hot sauce, to be entirely clear. Like I can handle heat. I lived in Thailand. I have gotten to the point where like spicy food is pretty comfortable for me. That being said, I'm not somebody who's like looking for the hottest hot sauce to like see how high that mountain goes. But it was this idea of kind of like making people taking people out of their comfort zone and then having them do something that is challenging but also funny. Like that to me was the big goal, was like try to make it funny. It's not about making people look bad. It's about the sort of like goofiness of the whole situation, like steering into the absurdity of having to answer tech questions while you're eating hot sauce. Um, and actually, for that reason, if I, and I hope we do, if your company is looking to sponsor something, I want to make a season 2 of Lead Heat. I have a bunch of ideas for how we can make it even better. And I have ideas for ways like we just steer into that a little bit more, the absurdity of like tech questions and hot sauce. Um, so it would probably like season 2 would probably be a not an entirely different game, but we'd do some pretty significant format updates. Um, and so I think the goal for me is always to find things that are fun, that are engaging, that make me want to play along. Like when Web Dev Challenge started, I was in everyone as a contestant because it was just so much fun. And recently I've stopped for a couple reasons. Like one, I think it at some point, I've practiced it enough that it's like not really fair. Like the skill I have developed is how to build a project in 4 hours, and so it sort of turns into a like, I didn't want it to be beat Bobby Flay, although that is a funny idea for a show. But I do, I stepped away to make room for more people to be part of it, and also because there's enough going on with the production now. Like the crew is big enough that like I have to actually like direct. I can't be heads down on a project and paying attention to what's going on in production. It wasn't feasible anymore. But so all that being said, like whenever I'm thinking about an idea, there's a bunch of things that I balance. I'm balancing what would I want to make? Like, am I excited to make this? I'm thinking about, what benefit does this provide to the broader community? Like, are people going to get anything out of this? Are they, if it's just funny, is that worth it? And if it's not, then what else do they get? And so like in Elite Heat, it's trivia. It's stuff that you can pick up and it's like little brain teasers that you can go explore. Like if you listen to one of those categories, there's a bunch of stuff that you can just go like, oh, I've never heard of that. Let me go look that up. Web Dev Challenge, same thing. Like it's fun, it's funny, and also you're going to see some tools, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was what Postman was for. Let me go look that up, and then you figure out that like, oh shit, these mock servers are actually great. So it's there's always like the benefit there, and then I'm also thinking about like how does a company benefit, and as much as I talk about how important brand awareness is, it has to be strategic, right? Like I don't think it would make sense for I don't know, like an auth company to sponsor an obstacle course where devs are getting pelted with Nerf guns, like an American Gladiator kind of thing. Um, because what does any of that have to do with anything? Like there's no association to be made. It's kind of like when you see a commercial that's really memorable, except for the fact that you can't remember what company it was for. Um, I don't have any good examples in my mind just because it's been a long time since I watched TV, but or like watch TV with commercials in it, I should say. But there's these ads that would be really absurd and really over the top, and then you'd think about it and you'd be like, who was that for? I remember that it was funny, but I can't remember what the company was that made the ad. That's not really useful. That doesn't there's no association being made, right? So I think the trick is to find a way that the brand awareness is tied in thematically with what's going on. So for example, this Annie Explains show that we want to make probably makes sense for a company that's attempting to bring developers into AI tools because it's explaining the underlying concepts of how AI works to people who would understand them in development terms. So it's like an AI tool focused on uh, technically inclined users. That great brand awareness. Doing it for people who are, and we could make it for people who are only casually interested, like the sort of how it's made sort of show. If you ever watch that on Discovery, that could also work, but it would mean that the content was very different. Like you don't get into like the depth of it. You would get into sort of a high level representation of what it is that that you would expect that somebody could sort of like repeat in a couple sentences at a party to say like, oh, did you know that that's how a neural network works? And they would be correct, but it would be very like. Annie Explains would have been great for data stacks. I know they just got done. partner companies is busted. Whoops. Well, I'll fix that. Um, let's see. Where are we at? I mean, we're pretty much at time here. I should probably call this done because I could talk all day, and I imagine that you've been here for 3 hours. You're probably sick of it. I'm sick of me too. But okay, so we've got. Let's see. This week we do not have a Learn with Jason, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this week there's no Learn with Jason. Next week we have Mike Ryan, who you might remember Mike Ryan if you were in the Angular community at all as the author of, I believe it was it RxJS? It was one of the big Angular like state management tools. And recently he's been working on a project around building like generative UI. And a lot of these AI tools, I'm kind of like, okay, sure, like ask the magic box to do some magic. This one's interesting because it feels like in the same way that with MCP, you can sort of specify like, hey, magic box, you're allowed to make these actions. And it helps you control the magic in a way that you get more like it's never deterministic, but it's less likely to be like wildly off the rails. You know, it's more like, hey, you can make a call to this service to get this data set, and then using this data set, make a choice. That's a little less chaotic than saying like, hey, just hallucinate a product that I might like. In the same way, this tool that he's been working on with generative UI, it kind of lets you specify like, I want you to build a UI for me, but here's my component library. So that you can sort of say like, yeah, if somebody's asking about products, you can show them products and here are like the product cards for that. Or if somebody's asking about blog posts, here's what a blog post layout is so that you can show a preview. And like that's pretty interesting to me because that's the sort of, in my mind, that's maybe the path that hasn't been explored enough yet. And this is the first tool I've seen that made me think that maybe it's buildable in a way that doesn't feel like letting AI take the wheel. Like I still get to have some agency as a developer. I'm just sort of putting a more nuanced search, if that makes sense, in place where somebody can say like, I'm curious about this, and it can say, well, I've never heard of this, but it sounds like maybe that means this or this, and they can say, oh yeah, that's right. You know, that sort of like contextual semantic, getting around the complexities of vague language using these language models, which is what I feel like they were built for. So that to me is really interesting. And we're going to talk about that on Learn with Jason next week on Thursday. We've also got a new web dev challenge coming. Very excited about that. It's going to be a good one. We're filming more soon in like 2 weeks, working on some new ones, trying to get some new folks in the studio here as soon as I can. Contracts, man, they're a huge pain in my butt. But yeah, and if you or anybody you know is looking to make things, I am, of course, always looking for new companies to partner with and new things to make, whether you want to be part of Web Dev Challenge, if you want to sponsor a season 2 of Elite Heat, or you want to help us make something entirely new. Hit up Code TV. So thanks all for watching. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, do a comment, do a share, do a something, make a clip. I don't know, whatever it is that makes your heart sing. And let's get this stupid algorithm to show people stuff that they want to actually see. All right, I love you all. Bye.